If you could just summon half the shamelessness you have when you're running the 718 Express, you'd have no problem finding a girlfriend, Leo muttered. Standing beside him, Chloe covered her mouth, stifling a laugh. You think everyone can be as shameless as you? Leo stopped walking. He waved a dismissive hand at Mark, signaling for him to get lost. No need for outsiders to witness a domestic dispute. Chloe tried to escape, but Leo's arm was firmly around her shoulder. She could only stare up at him with wide, innocent eyes. I was wrong. Leo wasn't listening. He pinched Chloe's cheek and gave it a soft knead. Felt nice. He only let go after she'd begged for mercy. Then, watching the departing group, he asked her, So what's the deal with that girl, June? The kid from my dorm was sneaking glances at her the whole time, Leo added. Chloe thought for a moment. June is great, but I think she just went through a breakup. Perfect. I trust your judgment. It's always been excellent, after all. Chloe felt like he was complimenting her, but something seemed off. Before she could figure it out, Leo was already nudging her forward. Let's go. Oh, catching up to Mark, Leo just gave him a simple be brave and left it at that. You couldn't force matters of the heart, and the choice was ultimately Mark's. If he liked her, he should at least try. If you try, there are two outcomes, success or failure. But if you don't even have the courage to try, you're guaranteed to fail. It was a principle that applied to a lot of things in life. You couldn't be a titan of thought and a dwarf in action. Leo could see Mark was torn up about it. He patted his shoulder in encouragement and then turned his attention back to Chloe. Is that one of those photo sticker booths over there? Chloe followed his gaze and nodded enthusiastically. Uh-huh. She grabbed his hand. Let's go take some. You haven't taken a picture with me in forever. Her voice grew more and more plaintive. Leo just threw his hands up. I'm camera shy. What camera shy? Come on, let's go. Chloe pushed him toward the booth. The others saw them, and a few looked interested. Photo sticker booths were all the rage in 2004, a phenomenon beloved by young people. Chloe was excitedly picking out different photo backgrounds. Seeing her so happy, Leo sighed. Fine. He'd make a reluctant appearance on camera. Thinking of cameras, he suddenly remembered the TV show they'd filmed at the charity project. It was supposed to air Sunday night. The director had promised him a surprise. He wondered what it could be. While Chloe and Leo were cramming into the photo booth, June was in the one next to them. Mark watched her posing alone, and finally, he gathered his courage and walked over. Can we take one together? Shane, sipping a soda nearby, watched with a frown. What did this guy suddenly get a clue? He thought to himself, looks like my window of opportunity is closing. It wasn't that Shane couldn't find a girlfriend. His standards were just ridiculously high. In his own words, he was holding out for someone on the level of Anna Jing or Hollywood. The hardest part of any conversation between a guy and a girl is the first sentence. Once that's out of the way, the rest is easy. When Leo and Chloe emerged, Leo was trying to hide his face. Chloe had bitten him a little too hard on the cheek during one of the photos, and he wasn't sure if it had left a mark. Chloe, on the other hand, was grinning from ear to ear. She picked her favorite strip of photos from the pile and tucked it into her wallet. Leo, give me your wallet. Seeing her outstretched hand, Leo knew exactly what she wanted to do. He pointedly turned his head away. I don't have one. Chloe was persistent. Then I'll buy you one later. After a minute of their playful tug-of-war, the others were done. Mark was beaming, clearly pleased with his own performance. He'd finally broken the ice with June. After the photos, they wandered around Golden Gardens Park for a while. As they passed a scenic, weathered-looking wooden bridge over the water, Leo found himself lost in thought, a melancholic indie song he couldn't quite place floating through his mind. He sighed. Why couldn't he ever remember lyrics? Shaking his head, he turned away from the water. Compared to the crowds along the main park paths, the secluded garden areas were much more peaceful. Not many students spent their time in places like this anymore. Leo remembered Chloe wasn't religious, but as she stood before a tranquil Zen garden, she looked remarkably reverent. After a moment of silence, she tossed a coin into a small decorative fountain, making a wish. She wouldn't even let Leo see what she whispered. By the time they left the gardens, it was noon. There's a restaurant nearby with great reviews. Should we try it? Leo was starving. Breakfast had been a quick affair. He rubbed his stomach and made the suggestion to the group. The restaurants around here weren't cheap, but these were his closest friends. He had to be generous. Shane rubbed his hands together. Let's go, let's go. He'd been ready for lunch for a while. On the way to the restaurant, just like at the beginning of the day, the group naturally split into smaller pairs, each in their own world. The only difference was that now, Mark was walking with June, making shy, intermittent conversation. Shane noticed this, tactfully dropping back to give them space, leaving himself to be the lone spectator watching the couples cuddle around him. Just as they were about to reach the restaurant, June stopped dead in her tracks. Mark stopped with her. He was about to ask what was wrong when he saw her eyes fixed on something ahead. Following her gaze, Mark froze. You know him? Before June could answer, the guy strode toward them. His voice dripped with scorn. Wow, you talk a good game about being so innocent, but you sure don't waste any time, do you? June's lip trembled and her eyes immediately turned red. Tears welled up. What the hell are you talking about? Mark shouted, stepping forward even though he had no idea what was going on. The guy just held up his hands, looking at Mark with pity. His next words were baffling and drenched in sarcasm. Hey buddy, have your fun. Just don't get too serious. Hugo, shut your mouth. June finally snapped, her voice breaking into a sob. Hugo shrugged, a picture of nonchalance. I couldn't care less about your dirty laundry anyway. By now, the rest of their group had gathered around. Hugo saw that he was outnumbered and decided to back off. He shot one last cold glare at June and walked away. The moment he was gone, June collapsed onto the pavement, sobbing. Leo fished a pack of tissues from Chloe's purse and tossed it to Mark. Mark caught it and knelt beside her. It's okay, he murmured. Just cry. You'll feel better. After that scene, the mood was ruined. Nobody felt like continuing the outing. You couldn't exactly go on laughing and having a good time while someone was crying their heart out next to you. In a way, Leo was relieved. He had zero interest in other people's relationship drama. Everyone has a past. Still, the guy's words had been intriguing. We're going to take June back to the dorm, Stacy said after they'd managed to get through a quiet lunch. What are your plans? June quickly shook her head. You guys don't have to worry about me. I'm fine. She was clearly trying to be strong, but Yara put a gentle arm around her. It's okay. We can hang out anytime. This isn't a big deal. I want to head back to the dorm too, Chloe added. June was clearly not in a good state, and no one felt right leaving her alone. In the end, they all decided to head back to campus together. At the dorms, Chloe waved goodbye to Leo, then held her hand to her ear in the shape of a phone. The message was clear. Call me. Leo, man, we've got nothing going on this afternoon. Wanting to see if the guy from the campus market wants to grab a coffee. Chad had been dragged off somewhere by his girlfriend, Autumn. The three remaining members of the 718 Express crew, Leo, Shane, and Mark, were sitting in a line on a planter near the campus entrance. Bored, Shane made the suggestion. The 718 Express had officially partnered with the campus market, getting a 30% cut of the profits from every item they sold. It was a win-win. The market sales had already jumped significantly in the short time they'd been working together. The owner was always incredibly polite to them now. Leo shook his head. If I had that kind of free time, I'd rather go back and sleep. True to his word, he stood up, dusted off his pants, and started walking toward the dorms. Shane and Mark followed. Shane was his usual chatty self, but Mark was quiet, his mood still low. Leo didn't bother asking. He knew what it was about. It wasn't like he could offer any useful advice. He didn't know the first thing about June. With the foundation of the 718 model and Leo's guidance, Mark's future was bright. He'd probably have better options down the line anyway. Not long after they got back to the dorm, Richie Ho walked in. Don't forget about the trip to the Veterans Memorial Park tomorrow, he reminded them. He had already notified every other room on their floor. It would be a disaster if Leo, the event's main sponsor, didn't show up. They had chartered a 50-seat bus for the occasion, and the bill wasn't paid yet. Of course, Leo hadn't forgotten. These were the kinds of things you had to keep in your heart. Is Holly's side all set? Leo asked. Richie nodded. Everything's confirmed. We meet at the campus gate at 9 tomorrow morning. Okay, cool. After seeing Richie out, Leo went to the balcony and made a call. Mr. Ho, my class is organizing a trip to the Veterans Memorial tomorrow to pay our respects. Hanging up, Leo felt a sense of satisfaction. This time, at least, he hadn't been rejected outright. Leo considered himself a simple man. The happiness he sought was straightforward. The next day, when Leo and his classmates arrived at the Veterans Memorial Park, it was already crowded. In his past life, Leo had come here often. The people resting here deserved respect. Most of the visitors were parents with their children, a lesson in patriotism. But apart from them, one group stood out, men in crisp black suits, led by a man in a formal administrative jacket. When they saw Leo's group approach, they respectfully moved aside. Richie and Holly, as the organizers, stood at the front of the class. Leo's eyes were fixed on Mr. Ho, but his expression was carefully neutral, betraying nothing. After the formal wreath-laying ceremony, Leo found an opportunity to slip away from the crowd and walk toward them. He was stopped before he got close. Only after the man in the lead, Mr. Ho, gave a nod was Leo allowed to pass. Mr. Ho, he nodded, then began walking without a word. Leo hurried to keep up. This was the whole point of orchestrating this event, to get a chance to speak with him. This was the proper attitude for a junior to have. Is there something else you need? Mr. Ho asked, turning to Leo once they'd reached a secluded spot. Leo knew this wasn't the time for pleasantries. I wanted to ask you, sir, about the redevelopment project for the mill district outside the university. Is the handling group handling that? Mr. Ho paused. If you'd asked about something else, I might not know. But I have heard a few things about that. Yes, they're the ones in charge. Is it possible, Leo pressed, that they might not be able to finish it, and someone else might take over? Mr. Ho coughed dryly. One of his subordinates discreetly handed him a cup of water and then stepped away. Sit, Mr. Ho said, taking a seat on a bench. Some of the things they've done have not sat well with the leadership. And now, someone else is spending a great deal of money to... Well, it might happen, it might not. Who knows? Though he'd said a lot without saying anything, Leo understood perfectly. Thank you, he said politely. Mr. Ho nodded and continued. Their group is involved in many sectors. Finance, real estate, entertainment, chemicals. They have their hands in a lot of pots. A lot of projects. Some of which will be put up for judicial auction. Hearing this, Leo's heart skipped a beat. You mean, you pick 3 of their projects, assets under $1 million each. You might be able to get them at the opening bid. Leo didn't believe in free lunches. He kept looking at Mr. Ho waiting. He didn't have to wait long. Mr. Ho took a sip of tea. Give one of them to her. Leo was momentarily stunned, though it made perfect sense. Still, he asked cautiously, in what capacity should I give it to her? That was the real problem. His relationship with Holly wasn't nearly that close. Mr. Ho's reply was blunt. That's your problem. And another thing, don't get any ideas about her. Mr. Ho had looked into Leo, and he wasn't exactly impressed by some of his exploits. Hence the warning. Fortunately for Leo, he had no such intentions. Not now, not ever. This girl was far more dangerous than Chloe. I won't. With the business concluded, Mr. Ho stood to leave. Before he left, he added one more thing. I'm telling you all this because I know you're a smart kid. He walked away without waiting for a reply. Leo stood there, lost in thought. A true old fox. This was an open conspiracy, a checkmate he couldn't avoid. For all he knew, Mr. Ho had been setting this up from the very beginning. All that talk about returning a favor for helping the clothing factory was just nonsense. He dared to tell Leo this because he knew Leo wouldn't dare use this information against him. Leo was smart enough to know that if he tried, he'd disappear long before the news ever got out. That very fear would force him to protect Holly's identity at all costs. Even if the secret got out from another source, it would become his problem. Terrifying. And now that he knew, he would have to do his best to help Holly, out of respect for her father. Of course, it wasn't for nothing. The terms he'd been offered were almost impossible to refuse. By current asset valuation standards, under $1 million could mean anything. And this was 2004. Furthermore, this deal didn't even include the Mill District redevelopment project. That was a separate prize, something he had to earn on his own merits. Mr. Ho hadn't said it directly, but he had given his tacit approval. If he could pull this off, this single expansion of his assets would save him years of struggle. And his years were equivalent to decades for others, maybe even centuries. It was a win-win situation. Everyone was happy. At least Leo was. Leo waited until everyone else had left before slowly getting to his feet. Just then his phone rang. Richie, what's up? It was Richie Ho, calling to ask where he was. They were gathering to go get lunch. Coming. He hung up and headed for the parking lot. From a distance, he could see Holly when laughing and joking with the people around her. She had an outgoing personality and seemed to get along with everyone. Looking at her appearance and demeanor, no one would ever believe she grew up in an orphanage. A few people are in the restroom. We'll leave as soon as they get back, Richie said, meeting him as he approached. Leo had no objections. He nodded and walked over to Holly. Something you need, Leo? Holly had noticed his gaze earlier. She hadn't thought much of it. Leo had a reputation for appreciating the view, and she didn't mind. He was a flirt, but in a way that wasn't offensive, because you knew he was just looking. Holly wasn't arrogant enough to think she could compete with Chloe Jiang or Sophia Su, so she was surprised when he actually walked up to her. Leo shrugged, looking her straight in the eye. How old are you? Holly's cheeks inexplicably flushed. Seeing he wasn't joking, she asked, in what sense? Leo froze for a second, his eyes glancing down and then back up. She certainly had the assets to ask a question like that. The girl knew a lot. I mean your age. What are you talking about? Holly gave a sheepish laugh. You're so forgetful, Leo. I just had my 19th birthday a little while ago. I even invited you to the party, but you didn't come. Now Leo felt a bit awkward. He seemed to recall something like that. He could only offer an embarrassed smile. Well, in that case, how about I throw you a make-up birthday party? He shouldn't have said it. The moment the words were out, Holly took a step back, looking at him warily. Leo, if you have something to say, just say it. You're scaring me. Leo rubbed his nose, chagrined. When did college students get so vigilant? Never mind. We'll talk about it later. He was just testing the waters. This was going to be a long and difficult road. But she seemed to have a good relationship with Sophia. Maybe he could ask Sophia for help. On the bus back to the city, someone started singing. If there was one thing you could say about this era, it was that the music scene was at its absolute peak. Hit songs were everywhere. Many students even kept notebooks filled with handwritten lyrics. Leo was pretty sure he even heard a version of The Strength Inside. After that song, the main topic of conversation on the bus was Mandy Moore's upcoming concert. A lot of people were interested, but the tickets were too expensive for most students to afford. Shane was sitting next to Leo. He leaned over and asked cautiously, Leo, man, did you really write that song? He'd been skeptical ever since the freshman orientation, but Leo had never given him a straight answer, which only made him more curious. Leo, who had been resting with his eyes closed, didn't even twitch. If it makes you feel better to think I didn't, then I didn't. Shane fell silent, feeling even worse. They were both 19. How could the gap between two people be so vast? After a moment, he tried again. Leo, man, could you help me out? See if you can get me 2 tickets, he pleaded. Don't worry, I'll pay you back later. Leo's eyes snapped open. He glared at Shane. Later? So you're trying to get them for free now? Caught. Shane wasn't the least bit embarrassed. He just grinned, showing off his big teeth. They were roommates, after all. Seeing as Shane was at least a good son to his parents, Leo finally nodded. I'll try my best. Mandy Moore was signed to Cat He's company. He could probably get some insider tickets. But Leo didn't make any firm promises. His honorary sister was a cunning one. Shane was visibly thrilled by Leo's reply. In his memory, Leo had never failed at anything. Thanks, Leo. Leo rolled his eyes, then asked curiously, 2 tickets? Who are you planning to go with? It's not Mark, is it? The two of them bickered constantly, but they always made up and were arm in arm on the way to the cafeteria minutes later. It was no wonder Leo would tease them. Mark, sitting in the seat ahead, overheard. The bus ride was already making him queasy. This made it worse. Leo, I'm begging you, be a decent human being. Shane quickly clarified. Yvonne Yuan wants to go. I heard from her roommate that she couldn't get tickets. Leo noted the detail with approval. You've already infiltrated her inner circle? Not bad. Shane was buzzing with excitement all the way back. Even after they got off the bus, he was still chattering away. Leo, if you don't have plans this afternoon, want to hit up the gaming lounge? It's been days since I played on Dust 2. I'm having withdrawals. Leo actually did have to go to the lounge to find Spike, so he nodded. Lunch was simple. They found a Chinese place near campus. Since Leo was paying, no one held back, shouting things about eating him into poverty. Leo just smiled. It was good for young people to have ambitions, but being unrealistic was another matter. Trying to bankrupt him at a place like this? How long would that take? At the Galaxy Gaming Lounge, Leo played a couple of rounds with Shane and the guys before finding an excuse to slip away. Spike was already waiting for him. Where's Gabe? Leo asked, seeing Spike was alone in the office. Gabe Xin was the main character in this play. It wouldn't work without him. Although a certain powerful figure had dropped a few hints, he had also been vague. A single crack can bring down a dam. Everything needs a catalyst. Leo wasn't going to wait around. He would be the one to light the fuse. He was also very curious about the someone else who was spending a great deal of money. The first person who came to mind was Ethan Jang, though he had no idea what the cost had been. It wasn't something he could ask about now. It would be better to bring it up when he saw him in next week. Spike shook his head at Leo's question. I didn't tell him you were behind this. He was worried that if the plan failed, it would trace back to Leo. Leo understood his good intentions. He sighed, but didn't press the issue. Have they made their move over there? Spike nodded. They've been in contact for 2 days. The first day, he lost a few $100. Yesterday, he won it all back, and then some. Gabe played his part perfectly. They're convinced he's a genuine gambling addict. It was a classic casino trick. Prey on a gambler's psychology. Let them win first, then lose, until they're completely hooked, destined for financial ruin. Leo knew this wasn't the time for sentiment. You couldn't reason with an addict. His plan was simple. Make contact with these people. Peel back the layers one by one. If he could reel in a big fish, great. If not, exposing their dirty tactics and letting public opinion run its course would still be a massive blow to the Hanlon Group's reputation. That would give others a reason to intervene. The only thing Leo had to worry about now was how to raise $2 million in such a short time. Even if he got the projects at their opening bids, he couldn't be so shameless as to accept them as a gift. The Rush Sportswear account only had a little over $1 million in it. The best option was to borrow from Ethan Jang, but thinking of the man's own difficulties, he couldn't bring himself to ask. Since there was no immediate solution, Leo decided not to dwell on it. Worst case, he'd get a loan from a bank. The banks in Riverbend had been hounding Mr. Stewart about it for months. That was just reality. When a company was on the rise, everyone wanted to add flowers to the brocade. Sending charcoal in a snowstorm? Maybe it happened, but it was exceedingly rare. Leo reminded Spike to be careful. There was no telling what those desperate men would do if cornered. Spike understood. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Leo knew his personality, so he said no more. With his instructions given, he left. That evening, Leo was eating in the cafeteria when he got a call from director Jang, reminding him to be in front of TV. The show was about to air. Leo was in the cafeteria specifically to see what this surprise was. His dorm didn't have a TV. Luckily, the show, Hometown Heroes, was incredibly popular with sky-high ratings. The cafeteria ladies were happy to keep the channel locked on it. Leo, you're not heading back? Shane and the others asked after they finished eating. Leo shook his head, motioning for them to move. They were blocking his view. The show started normally enough. In a cheerful atmosphere, the celebrity guests walked onto the screen, laughing and joking. Even without a certain pop idol, the dynamics seemed even better. The cameras focused heavily on Kevin Liu, and the show went into detail about his story. It was hard not to admire this young man who had temporarily put his education on hold to throw himself into the work of rural poverty alleviation. In that moment, Kevin Liu's name became known across the country. Also becoming famous was Cheryl's. The brand's image was perfect, though only captured in a few shots. The natural, unscripted beauty of the farm and its owner resonated deeply with viewers. The cafeteria was crowded, and many people were watching. Kevin's idea is a little impulsive, but when you think about it, it's so romantic. I could never be that brave. That's what a real man does. You can tell Kevin is amazing, but did you guys see the way he looks at Cheryl? It's like how my dad looks at my mom. Now that you mention it, you're right. They're so perfect for each other. Leo's brow twitched. It seemed gossip was what really captured the curiosity of these college students. The show reached its halfway point, and Leo still hadn't seen the supposed surprise. He was about to leave when the scene on the screen suddenly changed. It cut to a group of children squatting and watching an excavator. Leo sensed something was up and paused. Sure enough, a narrator's voice began, explaining what this new construction project was. Rush Sportswear had always done its charity work quietly, with mentions only in local papers. This was the first time it had been showcased on such a major program. After the narration, the celebrity guests were led into a classroom by the children. A notebook appeared on screen, its pages turning one by one. Today I got clothes from Uncle Leo. I'm so happy. My sister says I have to study hard and repay him. My sister says I look good in my new clothes. It's a shame Mom and Dad can't see. My sister and my brother both say Uncle Leo is a good person. I think so too. We watched them butcher the pig. Zhuang said he wanted to eat some, and Heiwa did too. I wanted some too. They told me that pig was also bought by Uncle Leo, and he shared it with us. They're building a cafeteria and a library at the school. Uncle Leo is building it. Leo had seen this notebook before. It was Nina's. He never expected it to be broadcast. There were many similar notebooks, all written by the children. In the future, people might dismiss it as a publicity stunt, but in 2004, everyone would only think that this Uncle Leo was a truly good person. Leo thought that was the end of it, but the next scene made his heart clench. We learned from the school staff, the narrator continued, that the person quietly doing all of this is the general manager of Rush Sportswear, Leo White. The narration finished, followed by a close-up shot of Leo's back. Under the setting sun, he sat by the courtyard, weaving a bamboo basket, looking utterly down to earth. Leo had said he would never appear on camera, so the director had tactfully avoided filming his face. In the fading light, even his silhouette was indistinct. The only clear feature was that he was tall. That alone wouldn't have been enough to make Leo's heart clench. What did was that Sophia Sue was there too, and she was also captured on camera. Though it was only their backs, they were both highly recognizable. Leo frowned, speechless for a moment. You call this a surprise? Perhaps it was. Listening to the easily moved college students around him muttering about only buying Rush from now on, a phrase that shouldn't exist in this era popped into his head. Revenge spending? But he couldn't worry about that now. He immediately got up and walked straight to Chloe's dorm building. He pulled out his phone and called her. Where are you? Chloe hadn't been watching TV, so she didn't know. But she knew it was only a matter of time before she heard about it. For the next few days, this show would be all anyone talked about. Leo had to give her a heads up. He had, after all, sworn up and down that he went on that trip alone. He didn't have to wait long. Chloe came running down, wearing a long knit dress and white sneakers. I thought you weren't going to come find me today. Leo quickly tried to smooth things over. I was busy today. See? I came over as soon as I was done. Have you eaten? Chloe instinctively started to nod, but then stopped herself. No. Under the lamplight, Chloe naturally linked her arm with Leo's. They walked and talked. My dad is going to the day after tomorrow. When should we go? Then let's go after class tomorrow, Leo answered without thinking. Do you need me to get you an excused absence? Leo was on pretty good terms with the school administration now. Getting a leave of absence for her wouldn't be a problem. Besides, he was planning to talk to Vice President Jang tomorrow about launching the bike share program anyway. The commercial strip was just beginning construction and was a long way from being operational, but he could start driving traffic there now. He didn't care about anything else. There would only be one off-campus bike return station, right next to the commercial strip. If you want to ride a bike off campus, you either had to ride it back or return it there. He'd also had Laura Een contact the County Planning Commission to coordinate adding a new bus stop next to the strip. The official had readily agreed. It was a small favor, a good way to build goodwill. Chloe shook her head. It's fine. My advisor and the department head are really easygoing. Getting 2 days off won't be an issue. Since that was settled, Leo didn't press it. He started calculating how to spin his story to minimize her anger. After all, he was the one who had lied first. Leo, how come so many people are talking about Rush Sportswear today? Chloe asked curiously. All along their walk, she'd overheard people mentioning the brand. This question stumped Leo. His eyes darted around for a moment before he said, I did a little marketing when I went to see Kevin a while back. I guess it's starting to pay off now. Now, Chloe was even more curious. What kind of marketing? Share it with me. Leo organized his thoughts. Do you remember the first time I met your dad? Chloe blinked, wondering why he was suddenly bringing that up. That meeting had not been pleasant. Leo continued. Back then, besides energetic and fashionable, the other tag I wanted for Rush was compassion. I realized later it wasn't really feasible, so I didn't focus on it. This time, I took advantage of a popular reality show filming near the charity project to give it a little promotional push. He went on explaining, spinning a tale about how the whole trip was purely for marketing purposes. Is that really all it was? Chloe asked, her eyes narrowed. What else could it be? Chloe snorted and dropped the subject. It's such a coincidence, she said airily. Sophia was also gone during the time you were away. Leo froze. What was that supposed to mean? Why are you suddenly bringing that up? Chloe turned her face away. Don't worry. I'm not going to watch that show, whatever it is. The moment Leo had mentioned the trip, Chloe had a rough idea of what he was trying to say. He was just trying to give her a heads up. She sighed to herself. Does he really think I'm that stupid? No, wait. Maybe she really was that stupid. Leo, what are your plans for after graduation? Leo's brow furrowed. He had a bad feeling. When he didn't answer, Chloe didn't wait. She just kept talking. I want to have 4 crazy years. If, after 4 years, I don't have this passion anymore, I'll just find some. Before she could finish, Leo cut her off, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. What's that? You plan to find some place where no one knows you, live a quiet life, and grow old alone. Chloe pouted, which was as good as a confirmation. Leo's temper flared. His tone was bossy. You think that's possible? A quiet life? Maybe alone? Not a chance. Chloe didn't know whether to be angry or happy. Her expression was a complex mix of emotions, and the words wouldn't come. Finally, all she could manage was a dismissive sound. You have such a big ego. Thank you for the compliment. They wandered for a while. They'd said they were going out to eat, but since both of them had already eaten, neither had much of an appetite. They nibbled on a few snacks for appearance's sake, and then headed back. The moment Chloe got back to her dorm, she opened her laptop and started searching for keywords related to Rush Sportswear. She had to know what Leo was trying so desperately to hide. Though she'd said she wouldn't watch, she couldn't stop herself. A woman's heart is an ocean of secrets. The more you say no, the more you want to know. Leo's mood wasn't much better. Chloe was thinking of running away. That was not a good sign. He had to nip that idea in the bud. He was a very petty and selfish person. She'd kissed him, so she had to take responsibility for him. For life. Kissing him and then running away? What kind of logic was that? Not allowed. Absolutely not allowed. Not for Chloe, and not for Sophia. It might be a little unethical, but as long as he didn't care and everyone could be happy, who was to say otherwise? Leo didn't have many virtues, but being thick-skinned was definitely one of them. He decided this relationship needed a shot of something potent, something strong enough to make everything else irrelevant. How to do it exactly would require careful planning, but there was no rush. As Chloe had said, they still had more than 3 years. Who knew what else could happen in that time? The next day, after his morning classes, Leo went to Vice President Jang's office. He had called ahead, so the VP had cleared his schedule to wait for him. Zhang's feelings about this student, who was not at all like a student, were complicated. On one hand, he disliked his unscrupulous methods. On the other, he admired his relentless drive to achieve his goals. If every student at the university had that kind of drive, the Hall of Fame for Distinguished Alumni would need to be expanded several times over. "What is it this time?" Zhang asked as soon as Leo walked in. Leo placed a tin of tea leaves on his desk. "Brought you some tea. Don't be fooled by the lack of a label. This is from the private plantation of a very important person, not something just anyone can get their hands on." That piqued Zhang's interest. If Leo said someone was important, they were important. He didn't hesitate to open the tin right in front of him. He took out a few leaves, crushed them between his fingers, sniffed them, and then touched them to his lips. "Not bad. This is good tea." Leo wouldn't know. He couldn't tell the difference. But it was a gift from Ethan Jang, so it couldn't be bad. "I'll accept the gift. If there's nothing else, you can go," Zhang said, already dismissing him. But Leo showed no signs of leaving. He plopped down in a chair. "So, Mr. Vice President, about the bike share program. Can we launch it now? After a committee meeting, we've decided it can be implemented, but there's one condition." When it came to official business, VP Zhang adjusted his glasses and became serious. "What condition?" Leo asked. "And let's be clear, if it's too demanding, I'm backing out." He wasn't just bluffing. There were plenty of other universities in the area. This one was his first choice, but not his only one. Zhang projected an air of authority, glaring at Leo. When he saw Leo's expression remain unchanged, he sighed internally. This kid was not easily intimidated. It's still about safety. The university cannot assume liability. Leo had already considered this. "You can rest assured on that point, sir. All the bikes have speed limiters installed. They can't go over 20 miles per hour. Plus, we have a comprehensive insurance policy. If an accident does happen, there will be a reasonable compensation plan." Zhang nodded. "That's for the best. There's one more thing. In December, there's a National University Student Innovation and Entrepreneurship Competition. The finals will be interviewed and broadcast on a major network. I want you to represent our school." This was Zhang's main purpose for meeting with Leo. Every university with any clout fought to participate in this kind of national competition, especially business schools. Leo thought for a moment, then shook his head. "The projects I'm working on are already mature. It wouldn't be appropriate." He paused, then continued before Zhang could get angry. "But I could have the 718 Express team participate. Their sales model could very well become mainstream in the future." As a vice president, Zhang was a busy man. His impression of 718 was that it was just a dorm room convenience store. It wasn't exactly by the book, but it was harmless, so he let it slide. Now, hearing Leo bring it up, his interest was piqued. Seeing his chance, Leo quickly explained. "It's about partnering with outside businesses." By the time Leo finished, Zhang's expression was a mixture of shock and awe. He squinted at Leo. "You came up with all this?" Leo shrugged modestly. "No, someone else thought of it. I just want to expand on the idea." Zhang said no more. "Fine." With that settled, things were simple. Leo and Zhang discussed the logistics of the bike share program. The locations on campus were confirmed. 2 stations at each of the men's and women's dorms. 1 at every academic building, and 1 each at the student union and the library. Leo planned to deploy 300 bikes initially to test the waters. Just as Leo was about to leave, Zhang called him back. "Mr. Vice President, is there something else?" Leo asked, confused. Zhang was all smiles. "A personal matter, just a personal matter. That 718 Express. Do they have a faculty advisor for their entrepreneurial project yet?" He was an economist. He could see the potential here. It was huge. If it weren't for his conscience as an educator, he would have been tempted to steal the idea himself. Leo feigned confusion. "An advisor? Isn't that you, Mr. Vice President?" "Ha ha. Well then, it would be rude to refuse. If you have any problems, come find me anytime." Zhang was beaming. Leo smiled back and took his leave. With the university on board, he now had to find Laura Een and have her arrange for someone to coordinate the specific details with the school. He was also concerned about her involvement with the Hamlin Group's #2 son. Honestly, Leo didn't want them getting too close. But if they were truly hitting it off, he couldn't interfere. Everyone had the right to make their own choices. Her position in his company might have to change, though. Of course, Leo wasn't the type to burn bridges. He would give her a generous severance package. Even though he was short on cash himself, he would never shortchange what was owed to someone. Just as Leo was lamenting how hard it was to make money, he got a call from Mr. Stewart. You need to log into the system. Now, Mr. Stewart was so excited he could barely speak clearly. Leo was calm. Mr. Stewart, take a breath. Untwist your tongue. Stewart took 2 deep breaths. Since this morning, sales in every region have been skyrocketing. As of 10 minutes ago, today's revenue is close to $200,000. And the key thing is it's still climbing. Leo was stunned. Rush Sportswear's growth had hit a temporary plateau. With over 200 stores nationwide, total daily sales were around $100,000. Today, it was barely noon, and they'd already hit $200,000? At this rate, could he actually raise another $2 million before the auction? But he quickly calmed down. This kind of reactive spending wouldn't last. He had to ride this wave of popularity and make as much money as possible. Getting money from consumers was hard. The fastest way to make cash was to find franchisees. Mr. Stewart, ramp up the franchise advertising and the franchise policy. Leo was about to say they should relax the requirements, but he caught himself. The reason Rush had so many franchisees and such a good reputation was precisely because of their strict policies. Instead, he said, make the franchise policy even stricter. Remember one principle: value comes from rarity. Mr. Stewart nodded and went to make the arrangements. After hanging up, Leo was lost in thought. It really was a surprise. Of course, Leo wasn't the only one who was surprised. Kevin Liu was ecstatic. The Cheryl's brand had become a household name overnight. His distributor, Big Chuck, had launched a promotional campaign at the perfect time. Even though the products were more expensive than similar items, people were buying them in droves. A win-win. Everyone was happy. Seeing as it was such a happy day, Leo decided to skip his afternoon classes. Missing 1 or 2 couldn't hurt, right? He reassured himself, and then headed toward the University of Oregon. He was going to That night, he had to tell Sophia. Sophia was in the cafeteria eating with her roommates. She was surprised to get Leo's call. When he wanted to crash her lunch, he usually gave her a heads up, rarely just showing up. But despite the surprise, she ordered a Philly cheesesteak for him. He loved those. When Leo arrived, Sophia was just bringing the food to the table. I'm going to tonight. I'll be back in a couple of days. He sat down next to her naturally and started eating. The food at U of O's cafeteria was several notches above what they had back at his school. Sophia nodded, acknowledging. After a moment, she spoke again. About the TV show. It was an accident. She knew what Leo was worried about, so she offered an explanation. Leo waved his hand without looking up. I could use a few more accidents like that. Sophia pursed her lips. Liar. Good. As long as you know I'm a liar, Leo said suddenly. Sophia stared at him for 2 seconds, then burst out laughing. Well, I'm taking it as the truth, she retorted. Leo didn't want to linger on the topic. He changed the subject. Did you manage to contact that journalist I asked for help with? Sophia nodded and pulled a business card from her pocket. As she handed it to Leo, she said, my mom recommended her. Said she fits your requirements perfectly. Leo pocketed the card without looking at it. Tell your mom I said thank you. She said you're welcome. Sophia replied with a mischievous smile. Seeing Leo's baffled expression, Sophia reached over and wiped a grain of rice from the corner of his mouth. That's exactly what she said. Fine. Leo went back to his food. His original plan was to crash a couple of Sophia's afternoon classes to spend more time with her. But when he learned both classes were with a certain Professor Tang who loved to call on students, he abandoned the idea. Sophia didn't insist. Okay then, come back soon and be safe. Okay. Leo gave her a reassuring thumbs up and left. Sophia watched his back disappear around the corner before she turned away, humming a song as she walked to class. She seemed to be in a good mood. Once he was off campus, Leo called Spike and gave him the reporter's number, telling him to have Gabe take the journalist with him. When it came to things like hidden cameras, a reporter was the professional. Sophia's mom had come through. According to Sophia, the journalist was highly skilled, had a very forgettable face, and possessed the fearless tenacity of a young bull. Crucially, she was a complete unknown, which made her perfect for this kind of undercover work. Chloe's afternoon classes were light. She was done by 3. Leo was waiting for her outside her classroom. The moment class was dismissed, she ran out. Don't you have class this afternoon? Do I? Leo feigned ignorance. Chloe didn't call him on it, simply linking her arm in his as they walked toward her dorm. All my stuff is packed. I just need to grab it and go. What about you? Leo pointed to the backpack on his shoulders. I just have 2 changes of clothes. Chloe chose to say nothing. When they reached her dorm, she said, wait for me, I'll be right back. Leo nodded and watched her dash inside. She was true to her word, coming back down just a few minutes later. Seeing her, however, Leo was stunned. She was armed for a campaign. He asked cautiously, just to be sure, We're going today and coming back the day after tomorrow, right? Chloe handed him her rolling suitcase, then took the camera from around her neck and hung it on his. Only then did she answer, "Depends on my mood." Without giving him a chance to think, she grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the parking lot. 2 days? Not a chance. Since neither of them had had their driver's license for a full year, they couldn't legally drive on the interstate. They decided to take the train. Luckily, the Amtrak from the Seattle area to L. Was a direct, if long, route. By the time they arrived in L. It was past 8 in the evening. Chloe, however, showed no signs of fatigue. After dropping her things in her hotel room, she went straight to Leo's. He was just getting ready for bed. "Is there something else?" Chloe stood in the doorway, her hands behind her back, a bright smile on her face. "I'm hungry. The hotel has 24-hour room service. Order it yourself." Leo was not in the mood to indulge her. He was still a little miffed that she had booked their rooms without his permission. "Since you're so smart, you can eat by yourself." Chloe sensed his mood, and her smile widened. "Come on, we haven't been to L. In ages. Eating hotel food is so boring. We have to go try the street food." She took his hand, ready to pull him downstairs. Leo sighed in defeat. "Eating too much at night will make you gain weight." Chloe didn't care. "So what if I get fat? We'll talk about it when you decide you're tired of me." Hearing that, Leo wisely shut his mouth. When it came to food, Chloe was serious. Her taste leaned toward lighter fare, so the local cuisine suited her well. Leo, who preferred spicier, heavier food, wasn't a huge fan, but he wasn't about to be ungrateful. After wandering through food stalls for an hour or two, Chloe wanted to keep going, but Leo put his foot down. "We have to pick up your dad tomorrow. You don't want to have dark circles under your eyes, do you?" He could see she was torn. "I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing." Leo slapped his forehead. The moment this girl left home, she became allergic to returning. "You might not mind, but I do. If your dad thinks I was bullying you all night, how bad would that look?" Chloe gave him a wary look, then leaned in close to his ear and whispered, "So, do you want to?" "I don't want him to misunderstand." A sly glint appeared in Chloe's eyes. "What if it's not a misunderstanding?" Leo felt his breath quicken. Was this the same Chloe? When did she learn to be such a flirt? Chloe burst out laughing. "Let's go back to the hotel." Their rooms were adjacent. After saying goodnight at their doors, they went their separate ways. Leo washed up and flopped onto the bed, playing a game on his phone. The simple games were good for lulling him to sleep. Just as it was about to hit midnight, he was about to put his phone down when a text came in. "Are you asleep?" It was from Chloe. "Yes." He texted back. He waited a moment, but no reply came. Not overthinking it, he texted goodnight and put his phone down. Just then, there was a knock on his door. It was the middle of the night. 1,000 possibilities flashed through Leo's mind. Curious, he went to the door and peered through the peephole. Then he quickly unlocked it. "What's wrong?" Standing in the doorway was Chloe. "I can't sleep alone," she said, walking right in and closing the door behind her. Leo then noticed that while she had a jacket on, underneath was a nightgown. "You're really not afraid I'll do something depraved?" he teased, pouring her a glass of water. Chloe shook her head. "My dad's coming tomorrow." "Fine." With one sentence, she had him completely checkmated. Now was definitely not the right time. He could only throw up his hands. "So," Chloe put the disposable cup on the table and stretched. "So, I'm sleeping here tonight." With that, she lay down on the sofa. "Are you serious?" Leo asked, astonished. Chloe didn't answer, closing her eyes as if she were already asleep. Staring at her nearly perfect profile, Leo took a deep breath, turned off the lights, and got back into his own bed. Finally, Chloe couldn't stand it anymore. "You jerk! Aren't you supposed to offer me the bed and say you'll sleep on the sofa?" Even though the AC was on, it was still a bit chilly in L. At night. It wasn't comfortable without a blanket. "In your dreams," Leo retorted. Chloe was furious. She sat up and stomped her foot. Finally, Leo stopped teasing her. "How about this?" he said, half joking. "I'll give you half." It was the biggest concession he was willing to make. After he said it, Chloe was silent for a long time. Just as Leo was about to toss her the blanket and grab a jacket for himself, he heard footsteps approaching. A dark figure leaped onto the bed. Luckily, Leo reacted quickly and shifted to the side, otherwise the impact might have made him lose his dinner. "What are you doing?" he yelled. The first thing Chloe did was snatch the blanket, wrapping herself up tightly. "Sleeping. Did I say I was sharing the blanket?" Leo said in a menacing tone. "Can't hear you. I can't hear you." Chloe buried her head under the covers, pretending she couldn't hear a thing. Leo sneered. "Oh, so you're going to play games with me?" He started pulling at the blanket. Chloe squealed. "Pervert." This just fueled Leo's mischievous streak. "Go ahead and scream, sweetheart. He didn't let up, yanking a good portion of the blanket back. He. Chloe started giggling. Knowing she couldn't win, she gave up. Instead, she snuggled up against him under the blanket, resting her head in the crook of his arm. Hold me. Let's sleep. He held her, but said, You want to sleep now? Too late. Chloe wasn't flustered at all. She whispered, It's that time of the month. Leo froze. He was completely stunned. The mood was perfect, and she hits him with that? But then again, it made sense. Otherwise, knowing Chloe's personality, why would she ever be so bold? Chloe giggled softly. She leaned in and gave him a quick kiss on the lips. Can we just hold each other like this? I love it. Leo took a deep breath to calm himself. If you love it, then we'll hold each other all night. Hearing this, Chloe hugged him even tighter, as if she were afraid he might suddenly disappear. After a while, her breathing grew steady and even. With her last ounce of consciousness, she whispered, Good night. Good night, my Chloe, Leo murmured, kissing her on the forehead before drifting off to sleep himself. A smile touched Chloe's lips, as if she were having a wonderful dream. Just like this, it was good. The next morning, Leo vaguely felt a tickling sensation on his chest. He opened his eyes to see Chloe staring at him, her hand tracing circles on his chest. Her eyes were crinkling with a smile. She was beautiful. Wake up, sleepyhead. Leo stretched and shook his head. How come you're up so early? Chloe's hand paused for a fraction of a second, and a blush crept up her cheeks. I just woke up. Her voice was so quiet Leo could barely hear it. He didn't think much of it and instinctively started to make a habitual morning adjustment. A guy's body has a mind of its own in the morning. But halfway through the motion, he remembered Chloe was right next to him. Seeing her timid expression, he understood immediately. They had been sleeping in each other's arms. There was no way she hadn't felt it. Leo's own heart started racing. Turn around. This time, Chloe was very obedient, quickly turning over and even covering her head with a pillow. After a rustling of clothes, Leo was dressed and had calmed down. Aren't you going back to your room to change? Chloe pouted and held out her arms. Carry me. My pleasure. Leo was wide awake now, but Chloe was just teasing. She jumped out of bed, stuck her tongue out at him, and said, You wish. She threw on her jacket and dashed out the door, leaving Leo standing there, dumbfounded. Women truly were enchanting creatures. Chloe was actually even more flustered. The moment she got back to her room, she threw herself onto the bed, buried her face in a pillow, and kicked her feet a few times. Chloe Jang, you have no spine, she muttered to herself, followed by a few more kicks. I can't show my face ever again. All her bravado from the night before had vanished. It took her a long while to regain her composure. She sat up and touched her cheeks. They were burning. She rushed to the bathroom to wash her face and put on some light makeup. Once she was sure she looked normal, she changed and went out. Leo was already waiting by her door. When he saw her, his eyes lit up. She was wearing a khaki woolen coat, which gave her a mature, intellectual air that was a departure from her usual youthful look. She was simply stunning. Chloe was very satisfied with his reaction. This was exactly the effect she was going for. She took his hand. Let's go. We'll grab breakfast, then head to the airport. The hotel Chloe had booked was right next to the Griffith Observatory, with easy access to everything. Ethan Jang's flight was arriving at 9, and they timed their arrival at the airport perfectly. By the way, did your dad ever tell you why he's coming to L? Leo asked, making small talk while they waited. Chloe thought for a moment. I think it's to handle something at a hospital. I overheard him on the phone once, something about a worker getting hurt on a project. It's probably to deal with that. Hearing this, Leo was even more confused. Accidents on construction sites are inevitable. Does her dad really need to handle it personally? Chloe sighed. Who knows? He never tells me about these things. But I have a feeling it's not that simple. Leo understood Ethan's desire to protect her, so he didn't press the issue. He would find out soon enough when he saw him. I told you not to come pick me up, but you never listen. The moment Chloe saw Ethan Jang, she ran to him. Ethan ruffled her hair, his expression full of adoration. His words were scolding, but his tone held no blame. In fact, he was clearly happy to see her. I just wanted to see you sooner, Chloe said, swinging his arm playfully. Just then, Leo walked up smiling. Mr. Jang, long time no see. Ethan's expression soured. Oh, he had planned to go find Leo on campus to talk privately. But Leo had preempted him by dragging Chloe to L. Leo was completely unfazed by Ethan's displeasure. It wouldn't do any good to be bothered by it. He just pretended not to notice. Where are you headed now, Mr. Jang? Hearing this, Chloe looked up at her father. At that moment, several men in suits hurried over, their faces breaking into smiles when they saw Ethan. Mr. Jang, everything has been arranged. Ethan nodded. Let's head over then. He looked at Leo. I have to go to the hospital first. Do you two want to go have fun on your own, or? We'll go with you, Leo said quickly. Chloe wants to spend more time with you, too. Chloe nodded vigorously. Yes, exactly. All right then. Ethan didn't argue. The group headed for the parking garage, where a stretch Lincoln Town car was waiting. Leo looked at the car with a sense of nostalgia. It seemed all the big bosses in this era love cars like this. In a few more years, they'd become a rare sight. Ethan's 3 assistants and the men who had met them at the gate got into other cars, leaving the cavernous limousine with only 3 passengers besides the driver, who was separated by partition. How has Rush Sportswear been doing recently? Ethan asked Leo, perhaps to keep him from feeling bored after he'd chatted with Chloe for a bit. Leo, a polite smile fixed on his face, replied, We've done what we can. For now, the goal is just stable development. Ethan nodded, but still offered a word of advice. Rush has grown too quickly. In terms of the product itself, you lack a certain competitive edge. Stabilizing and strengthening your foundation is a good thing right now, but you can't get complacent. You should focus on innovation. I heard from a friend abroad that they're already researching the 3rd generation of the sharkskin swimsuit that made such a splash in the Olympics. The next Olympics will be a huge deal. If Rush could get its hands on that 3rd-gen tech. Honestly, Leo was deeply impressed by Ethan. It was no wonder his business was so successful. Leo knew better than anyone what Rush's main problems were. A weak foundation and a lack of core competitive technology. He remembered the sharkskin swimsuit Ethan mentioned. It was the 4th generation of that suit that Michael Phelps had worn to win 8 gold medals at the Olympics 4 years from now, giving him an absolute advantage. Ethan's expertise wasn't in sportswear, but his network was vast. He heard bits and pieces of everything. Thank you for the advice, Mr. Jang. I'll have someone get in touch with them and do my best to bring that technology to our market. Ethan nodded, pleased. He liked that Leo was so quick on the uptake. Ethan's suggestion sparked more than just the shark skin idea in Leo's mind. In 2004, there were several other sports apparel technologies that were still looking for investors. They chatted all the way, with Ethan offering Leo advice from his years of experience. Leo found it incredibly useful. The more they talked, the more they found common ground. Leo explained his bike share traffic plan and the 718 Express sales model. Ethan was intrigued. That entrepreneurship competition. The show's producers contacted me about being an angel investor. I haven't decided whether to go yet. You should go, Leo said immediately. Keep the money in the family. Don't be fooled by the current technological limitations. As long as this project has sufficient funding, the future profits will be substantial. There are already similar business models overseas. With Leo's passionate pitch, Ethan finally agreed. All right then, I'm free during that time anyway, so I'll go. But let me be clear. If you can't convince me during your presentation, I won't give you any special treatment, just because we know each other. A sly smile appeared on Leo's face. Mr. Jang, I'll say the same to you. When the time comes, if you can't outbid the competition, I won't give you a discount just because we're friends. The reason Leo wanted 718 to participate in this competition was to attract an angel investor. The project was great in every way, except that it burned through cash in the early stages. He couldn't afford it on his own. It was just like how certain delivery platforms got popular later on. People used them because they were cheap. And at the beginning, they were cheap, with massive subsidies for both businesses and customers. Later on, once they had the user base, it was time for them to make money. Ethan shot Leo a glare. You're already haggling with me? Leo could only offer a sheepish grin. Just kidding, just kidding. Chloe watched them from the side, smiling. She had been a little worried before this meeting, since their last encounter had been so unpleasant. She was surprised to see them getting along so well this time, but it was a good thing. The drive from the airport to the hospital wasn't long. The driver parked and got out to open their doors. In the hospital parking lot, an even larger group was waiting for Ethan. The moment he stepped out of the car, more than a dozen people surrounded him. They were all in suits, clearly influential figures in their own right, but in front of Ethan, they were all respectfully deferential. Ethan checked his watch. It was almost 10. Let's go. We'll talk, and then I'll treat them to lunch. He started walking toward the elevator. In a minute, he said to Leo and Chloe, just watch. Don't ask anything, and don't say anything. These are just some ugly, underhanded tactics. As long as they open their mouths and show their hand, the rest will be easy to solve. Chloe was baffled, but Leo's expression grew thoughtful. He replied quickly, I understand. Leo followed Ethan and his entourage into a luxury hospital suite. The room was crowded. Compared to Ethan's group in their formal suits, the people here were dressed in simple, plain clothes. The moment they saw Ethan, they swarmed forward excitedly. "Sir, what exactly do you people want? This is about a man's life. My uncle is lying in that bed right now. The doctor said he might be crippled for life. Don't you think you owe us an explanation?" Fortunately, Ethan was prepared and wasn't fazed. "I came today precisely to give you an explanation." But as soon as he finished speaking, someone in the crowd started heckling. "You're just trying to fool us. In your eyes, our lives are cheap, aren't they? If you really want to solve this, it's simple. First, publish a public apology in the papers. Admit you were planning to use him as a human sacrifice. Then pay up. We don't believe in empty words." The more he spoke, the angrier he got, and the emotions of the crowd flared up. Hearing his words, Leo was dumbfounded. A human sacrifice? It was a horrifying ancient superstition, accusing them of planning to bury a living person in the building's foundation for good luck. No wonder Ethan had to come personally. If this accusation was proven true, his entire corporation would be destroyed. If it was a deliberate frame-up, it was truly vicious. People love gossip and scandals. Once a story like this started spreading, even if it wasn't true, it would be treated as fact. Chloe stood silently by, her brow furrowed with worry. Leo, worried the crowd might say something even more shocking, was about to pull her out of the room. Ethan could handle this. But just then, he heard someone call his name. "Leo, is that you?" Leo turned his head. He stared for a moment. Then his face broke into a look of surprise. "What are you doing here?" The person in front of him was none other than the girl from the club Julian had set him up with, the one who was supposed to give him the VIP treatment. Her name was Cece. The exchange between Leo and Cece quieted the room for a moment. "Cece, you know him?" a middle-aged man asked her. Cece nodded, her expression complicated. She didn't know what to say. How could she talk about that night? Leo was the first to speak. "We're classmates." As he said it, he felt a sharp pain in his side. "What was that for?" he hissed, turning to glare at Chloe. Chloe pouted, the sour look on her face potent enough to sting from a distance. "I didn't know you had a classmate like her," she mumbled. Leo didn't bother explaining. "I'll tell you later," he said, then turned back to Cece. "You still haven't told me what you're doing here." Cece looked grateful that he'd provided a cover story. She was terrified he would tell the truth. Hearing his question again, she answered, "The man in the bed. He's my father." Her voice trailed off in his sadness. Leo sighed, his tone softening. "Are all these people your relatives?" Cece shook her head, about to say more, but a man stepped forward and stopped her. "Niece, don't say the wrong thing. Niece, don't say the wrong thing." Cece froze, clearly conflicted. She glanced at the middle-aged man who had first asked about her connection to Leo. Leo thought for a moment. "If you trust me, can you tell me what's really going on?" "Mr. Lou, control your daughter," someone else shouted. "Mr. Lou, control your daughter," someone else shouted. Mr. Lou was Cece's father. Leo had noticed him earlier. He was the victim, but he hadn't said a single word. Hearing his name called, he sighed, but still didn't speak. He looked ashamed. Ethan, standing nearby, seized the opportunity. "Cece, is it? Since you're Leo's classmate, you can call me Uncle Ethan." Cece's full name was Cece Lou. She politely murmured, "Uncle Ethan." Ethan smiled. "If you're having any trouble, you can tell me. You can tell me what you need. I'm truly sorry about what happened to your father, but it really was just an accident. If you don't believe me, you should at least believe Leo, right?" Hearing that, Leo almost rolled his eyes. What financial tycoon, he thought. He's as shameless as I am. "Niece, don't believe his lies," one of the men shouted. "Rich people never keep their word. And that classmate of yours, he doesn't look like a good person either. He's probably just here to manipulate you." The crowd was getting louder, the cacophony of voices grating on the nerves. Cece covered her ears, unable to take it anymore. "Enough," she screamed. The room fell mostly silent. "All of you get out." Her usually quiet face was flushed red. She pointed at the door. "Every time someone comes to talk, you all just make a scene. Are you really trying to help my dad? Or do you have some other motive?" At her words, a faint smile touched Ethan's lips, though he hid it well. The other men's faces, however, were a storm of conflicting emotions. "Mr. Lou, look at your daughter. What kind of way is that to talk? We're just trying to stand up for you. And she not only doesn't appreciate it, she says things like that. How could you raise such an ungrateful wolf?" The accusations brought fresh tears to Cece's eyes. Mr. Lou finally snapped. Even the most patient man couldn't stand hearing them talk about his daughter like that. "I said get out." Leo and Ethan exchanged a look. Leo was about to leave, but Cece's choked voice stopped him. "Leo, please, you stay." Ethan nodded at Leo and then left. Chloe glanced back 3 times as she followed him out, but said nothing. Ethan's people left quickly, but the other group didn't move. What? Do I have to invite you to leave? Mister. Lou roared, his patience gone. Outmatched, the men had no choice but to leave. But just before the last one left, he muttered, Mr. Lou, think about your sick wife. At that, Mr. Lou's anger flared. Get out. The hospital suite Ethan had arranged for Mr. Lou was the best in the hospital. Once they were gone, the room felt vast and empty. Cece burst into tears, collapsing onto her father's bed. Dad, I don't want to do what they're saying. We'll find another way to pay for Mom's surgery. Mr. Lou stroked her hair, the lines on his weathered face deepening. Leo had glanced at the chart by the bed. Mr. Lou was only 2 years older than Leo's own father, but he looked ancient. It's my fault. It's all my fault. Mr. Lou choked out. After a while, Cece managed to compose herself. She staggered to her feet and walked over to Leo. She didn't say a word. To Leo's astonishment, she started to kneel. He reacted quickly, grabbing her arm to stop her. Hey, whatever it is, we can talk about it. Cece bit her lip, hesitating before she finally spoke. I'm so sorry. Hey, Mr. Lou sighed, the sound heavier than before. I'm the one who should be sorry. I never should have had such a wicked thought. Mr. Jang, you can come in, Leo called out from the hospital room doorway. Ethan Jang heard him and quickly walked inside. The other men, the ones who had been jeering and shouting, tried to follow, but Leo blocked their path. I didn't call you. Keep waiting. He shut the door and turned to Ethan. Mr. Jang, their situation is a little complicated. It might be best to let this one go. When Ethan nodded, a silent command to continue, Leo laid it out. Cece Lou's mother was just diagnosed with a brain tumor. She needs surgery fast. He glanced at the father and daughter huddled together. They don't have the money. Someone approached her dad, Mr. Lou, and told him he could get a big payout. Leo paused. He never meant for it to go this far. He was pushed. He had no idea what they were really planning. Hearing Leo's summary, Ethan's gaze fell upon the Lius. Both of them kept their heads down, unable to meet his eyes. Ethan's brow furrowed. And the crowd outside? Mostly just guys from a construction site who got swept up in it, except for Sesay's uncle. The ones who were shouting the loudest, though. I didn't recognize them. Ethan nodded slowly. I see. Without another word, he turned and walked back toward the door. The moment he stepped out of the room, every eye was on him. A few of the men shifted, looking for an exit, but it was too late. Call the police, Ethan said to one of his assistants, his voice calm but sharp as glass. Tell them I've lost a watch, worth 6 figures. I suspect someone here stole it. To another, he commanded, block the hallway. Don't let a single one of them leave. His men moved instantly. The group that had been with Mr. Lou began to panic. You can't keep us here. You're restricting our freedom, one of them yelled. Ethan replied with strained patience. Right now, anyone who tries to leave is admitting they have something to hide. If you're innocent, you won't mind waiting for the police, will you? Dad, Chloe whispered, confused by the sudden turn of events. Ethan just smiled at her. It's fine. It's all taken care of. Hearing that, Chloe finally let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. It was a relief. But even if the immediate problem was solved, Ethan had no intention of letting the men off the hook. They might not have been the masterminds, but they were accomplices, and they deserved to be held accountable. They had only themselves to blame. The story about the stolen watch was just a tactic, a way to keep them calm and contained until the police arrived. He was worried that if he revealed the true gravity of the situation, they'd scatter like rats, and hunting them down one by one would be a hassle. The poor saps didn't know any better. They actually thought the police would show up, find no stolen watch, and let them go. Extortion, fraud, assault. Ethan was already mentally compiling a list of charges. Back in the hospital room, Leo was stunned. That's it? You're a major CEO? Shouldn't you make some kind of grand gesture? Like, say, offering to cover Sesay's mother's medical bills? He looked at the dejected father and daughter and sighed. He shouldn't have come. Now he was stuck, unable to leave, but unsure what to do. Finally, he gave in. Your mom. How much will the surgery cost? The moment he asked, Cece understood his intention. She quickly waved her hands. I'll figure something out. What could she possibly figure out? It was just the last shred of her pride talking, refusing to accept what felt like charity from Leo. Just as Leo was about to press her, deciding he might as well be the good guy all the way, the door opened again. Ethan and Chloe walked back in. Ethan's face was still a mask of indifference. Your mother is at a hospital in L. Right? He asked Cece. When she nodded, he continued. I've arranged for her surgery. It should be done by this afternoon. The medical bills have all been paid. The sudden news left Cece speechless. Before she could even process it, Ethan added, "Don't thank me. I'm just a businessman. This price is a lot less than what I was prepared to pay." With that, he turned and left. After a few steps, he glanced back at Leo. "Are you coming?" "On my way," Leo called out. He looked back at Cece one last time. "Just be yourself. Live a happy life. And take care of your parents." He walked out and joined Chloe, who instinctively linked her arm with his, unafraid even in front of her father. From her perspective, Leo was a hero, the one who had helped her dad solve an impossible problem. Only Leo knew the truth. He'd just gotten lucky. Even if he hadn't shown up, Ethan Jang had more than enough resources to get the truth out of a guileless girl like Cece. He had no intention of taking credit. "Leo, how do you two know each other?" Chloe asked as soon as they were out of the hospital. She was burning with curiosity. Leo scratched his nose, trying to assemble the right words. His eyes darted around for a moment, but just as he was about to speak, Chloe cut him off. "If you're just going to lie, you might as well not say anything." Leo let out a sigh of relief. "Your words, not mine. In that case, I won't say a thing." Chloe stomped her foot in frustration, but she was helpless. "Jerk, jerk, jerk," she muttered. Ethan was standing right there, his expression unreadable. He cleared his throat. "Ahem." Chloe remembered her father was present and immediately composed herself, transforming back into the perfect daughter. Ethan sighed. "Chloe, go buy me a bottle of water, would you?" Chloe agreed, but as she walked away, it struck her as odd. Didn't his car have a fully stocked fridge? She shrugged it off and headed toward a nearby convenience store. The moment Ethan sent Chloe away, Leo knew something was up. There was no avoiding this. He plastered on an eager, obsequious smile. "Mr. Jiang, I actually have a business plan I'd love to get your opinion on." Ethan just shook his head. "Some other time. Right now, I have something I'd like to ask your opinion on." "Then you don't need to ask. What opinion could I possibly have?" Leo said quickly. "Good," Ethan said flatly. "You have 1 month. Either you cut off all contact with Sophia Sue, or I'm sending Chloe to study abroad. You said you have no opinion, remember?" Leo's heart skipped a beat. He knew a conventional approach wouldn't work. It was time to play dirty. "I don't have an opinion on that, no. But if you send Chloe abroad, I'll make sure you get promoted." The air went still. "Promoted to what?" Ethan asked, his voice dangerously low. "Grandfather." A rare flash of raw emotion crossed Ethan's face. He pointed a trembling finger at Leo. "Leo White, do you really think I can't touch you?" But Leo was calm now, his voice softening. "I know you can. I've always known how insignificant I am. I know that if I suddenly disappeared one day, it would just mean one more plot of dirt in the ground and a few more people who are sad for a little while. And it's because I know how small I am that I want to squeeze every last drop of enjoyment out of this short life. The word happiness. It's a beautiful, mysterious thing. If you're not happy, what's the point of living a long life?" Leo paused, looking directly at Ethan. "Mr. Jiang, do you know what happiness is?" Seeing Ethan fall into a contemplative silence, a flicker of cunning crossed Leo's eyes before vanishing. Looked like he dodged that bullet. "Leo, where's my dad?" Chloe asked, returning with the water and finding Ethan gone. "He had something to take care of, so he went ahead. He told us to go have fun," Leo explained. Ethan had left, but not before giving Leo another warning. Something about how no father could tolerate someone toying with his daughter's emotions. After Leo gave him a firm guarantee that he wasn't that kind of person, Ethan had departed, still fuming, but he hadn't mentioned sending Chloe abroad again. It was just as Leo had said. If he sent her away, would she really be any happier than she was right now? Besides, Leo had tacitly agreed to Ethan's condition. If Chloe ever fell for someone else, he would let her go without a fight. Would that day ever come? Leo didn't think so. He would mercilessly crush any sign of it. He never claimed to be a good person. If you don't have morals, you can't be blackmailed by them. Chloe was used to her father's sudden departures. It had happened more times than she could count. "Well, okay then." Her voice still held a note of disappointment. "So, where are we going now?" Leo wanted to say back to campus, but seeing Chloe's deflated expression, he changed his mind. In a way, Ethan Jang wasn't a very good father. If he were, there would have been no opening for someone like Leo to slip in. "Want to go walk the Santa Monica Pier?" he suggested offhandedly. "Yeah, let's go." On the way to the pier, Chloe held Leo's arm, chatting idly. "So, what was really going on today?" The mention of a mob-style hit disguised as an accident had terrified her. Even though it was resolved, she still wanted to understand what had happened. Leo knew she was worried about her father. To put her mind at ease, he told her plainly, Cece's mom needed money for surgery. Her dad was tricked by some people into thinking he could stage an accident and get a big workers' comp payout. What he didn't know was that they wanted him dead to make the story about a body in the foundation seem real. If that rumor stuck, who would ever buy a condo in that building? He got lucky and was only injured, but those guys didn't give up. They still wanted to force your dad to take the blame. Leo finished with a smirk. TSK, TSK. But who is your dad? There's no way he'd fall for that. Though Leo's tone was light, Chloe's brow furrowed as she listened. After a moment, she called his name. Leo. He turned his head, smiling slightly. Yeah. Do you also think making money is that important? Even when you already have a lot? Leo froze at her question. Seeing the worry in her eyes, he instantly understood what she was thinking. When a company gets to a certain size, it's not up to one person anymore. Besides, in your dad's current position, does he really have a way out? The real estate industry ran on debt. Even a man like Ethan Jang owed the banks a fortune. Chloe knew this. She hesitated, then asked carefully if one day my dad needed your help. What would you do? Leo stared at her, like father, like daughter. What? Chloe asked, feeling a little flustered under his intense gaze. Forget it. Forget I asked. But Leo shook his head. Your dad just asked me the same thing. It was only after I answered that he managed to crack a smile. What did you say? Now, Chloe was even more curious. Leo threw his hands up in a helpless gesture. My uncle left me a safety net, so I've got nothing to lose. I told your dad I'd help him, even if I had to sell everything I own. Chloe's eyes instantly welled with tears. She threw herself into his arms. You jerk. I know you're just saying that to make me feel better, but I can't help but be moved. Leo gently patted her back, explaining with feigned impatience. Make you feel better? I was trying to make him feel better. You didn't see the look in his eyes. He seriously looked like he wanted to use me for that foundation. Chloe burst out laughing. She pretty much understood what their conversation had been like now. Serves you right for being such a jerk. Oh, a jerk am I? I'll show you a jerk tonight. Chloe giggled, her mood finally lifting after their playful banter. She looked at Leo, a shy glimmer in her eyes. Jerk, I'm not going to listen to my dad. So you'd better win me over properly. Leo froze, then shrugged. Win you over? Tell me, which part of what I just said was me trying to win you over? Chloe's eyes darted back and forth. Then say you like me. I like you. Compliment me. You're beautiful, cute, and smart. Then be my boyfriend. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? Come on. I'll take you to watch the sunset from the pier. Leo held out his hand. Chloe knew she wasn't going to get a straight answer on this. She stomped her foot, pouted, but didn't press the issue. She dutifully placed her hand in his. For the next few days, Leo accompanied Chloe all over L. They ate, drank, and had fun. It was a comfortable blur. The City of Angels was already a bustling metropolis in 2004, a true paradise for the wealthy. Chloe was still enjoying herself and wanted to stay longer, but Leo got a call from Spike. He had to go back. Did something happen? Chloe asked softly. They were on top of the Griffith Observatory, looking out at the city lights, and she had noticed the change in Leo's expression during the call. Leo shook his head. A small problem. Let's go back to the hotel. We'll head out first thing in the morning. Chloe could tell he was serious. She nodded quickly. Okay, if it's really urgent, we can leave tonight. It's fine. Leo suddenly laughed. No. He looked at her with a sly grin. Miss Jiang, are you trying to run away from something? Chloe's face flushed red. Of course not. You bite the hand that feeds you. Leo didn't expose her lie. Tonight, they had only booked one room. It had taken a lot of convincing on Leo's part to get her to agree to just sleeping in the same bed, holding each other. Even if they couldn't do anything, it would still be nice. Go back. Going back right now wouldn't solve anything. He'd deal with it after tonight. That night, when Leo held her in bed again, Chloe wasn't as nervous as the first time. Resting in his arms, she breathed in his unique scent. You definitely smell like a boy, she murmured. Leo didn't bother arguing. With a beautiful girl in his arms, this wasn't the time for chatter. You bully, Chloe whispered playfully, then fell silent. She was discovering that the more she talked, the more worked up Leo got. Nothing happened that night. The next morning, Chloe was still half asleep when she reached out for Leo. She felt nothing. After a few more drowsy pats on the empty space beside her, her eyes shot open. The room was empty. Leo, she called out, panicked. There was no response. Her sleepiness vanished completely. She grabbed her phone, about to call him and ask where he'd gone, when she heard the hotel room door click open. She instinctively pulled the blanket up to her chin, her eyes fixed on the door. When she saw it was Leo, she let out a huge sigh of relief. Forgetting she was only in a thin nightgown, she leaped out of bed and rushed toward him. Jerk, don't you dare leave me behind. Not being able to find him, even for a moment, had sent a jolt of real fear through her. She was terrified he had just left, that he didn't want her anymore. Leo sensed her panic. He casually placed the breakfast he was holding on a coffee table and swept her up in his arms. Leave you? You wish. He carried her over to the sofa and set her down. The nightgown was flimsy, and Leo found himself staring, a little captivated. Chloe noticed his gaze, and, instead of shying away, she seemed to puff out her chest. Leo took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. Let's eat breakfast, he said. I've already booked our flight back to Seattle. We'll leave after we eat. Chloe nodded. Okay. But then she looked at him. Feed me. You're so demanding, Leo grumbled, but his hands were already unwrapping the food. After breakfast, Chloe went to get ready while Leo packed their things. The trip to had deepened their relationship significantly. Leo thought it was a good thing, but then he thought of Ethan Jang and felt like he was just at the beginning of a long, arduous journey. The hardest parts were yet to come. Maybe I should make him a little busier. Leo muttered to himself, 100 bad ideas already sprouting in his mind. If Ethan was always busy, he'd never have a free moment. Leo thought the plan had merit. He'd map out the details when he got back to campus. When Leo had arrived in he'd been empty-handed. On the way back, he was carrying a huge bag. According to Chloe, they were souvenirs for their friends and professors. Souvenirs from As far as Leo was concerned, the only souvenir from was money. When he told her that, she called him shallow. I'll drop you off at the university first. Then I need to borrow the car for a bit, Leo told Chloe after they landed in Seattle and picked up her Land Rover from the airport parking. Chloe had no objections. She'd only bought the Land Rover because Leo had said he liked it. If you're busy, I can take a taxi back to campus, she offered. She noticed him on the phone constantly during the flight and didn't want to hold him up. But Leo refused. It's on the way. After dropping Chloe at the campus gate, Leo floored it and drove to the hospital near the university strip. Is he awake? Spike was waiting for him in the parking lot. Leo jumped out of the car. Spike shook his head. He woke up for a minute, but he's still pretty out of it. Hearing that he was awake was a relief for Leo. What about the reporter? No news yet. Spike reached for a cigarette, then remembered he was at a hospital and stopped. When they were found, Gabe told the other guy to run first. No idea where he's hiding now. Leo's gaze turned serious. Did they get the evidence? Spike glanced around before nodding. I haven't been able to talk to Gabe, but I heard from some other friends. They said they filmed something that has the big boss sweating. He looked back at Leo. Leo, when can we go see Gabe? At the end of the day, Gabe had gotten hurt doing a job for him. Not being able to visit him was eating Spike up, but he knew he had to listen to Leo. He also knew that visiting Gabe now wasn't a smart move. Leo clapped him on the shoulder. That money we lent them, just forget about it. As for his two sisters, get them set up with steady jobs. You can contact Laura Ian about it. Don't tell them what happened to Gabe yet. Make up an excuse for them to go on a trip for a few days. They can come back when things here have settled down. Spike knew this was Leo's way of taking care of things. Okay, Leo. I'll thank you on his behalf. Leo smacked him on the back of the head. Don't give me that crap. Heth. Right, my bad. Leo was speechless for a moment. Slip the nurses and doctors some cash to make sure they take good care of him. Call me if anything happens. He couldn't stay long. He had only come to confirm Gabe's condition. If something had really happened to him, Leo would never have forgiven himself. Some things couldn't be discussed over the phone. After giving his instructions, Leo prepared to leave. He got back into the Land Rover and dialed Sophia's number. The reporter was a contact from her mother. She might know something. He had no idea what kind of evidence the guy was holding, but it must have been explosive for the other side to react so violently. Sophia was in class, but she still answered when she saw it was him. You're back, she said, her voice full of pleasant surprise. She got a call from him every day, but with him gone, it just hadn't felt right. Yeah, I'll come pick you up after your class. There's something I need you to help me with. That reporter you introduced me to, do you know where he lives, or if he has any family or friends in Washington? From his tone, Sophia could tell something was wrong. She didn't ask what. She just said, I'll find out right now. His family is in Louisiana, but he hasn't been back since he graduated. He doesn't have any family here in Washington, just an ex-girlfriend. Sophia worked fast. By the time Leo reached the University of Oregon, she had all the information. They were on good terms. They only broke up because of issues around getting married. If he's not at his apartment, the most likely place he'd go is his ex-girlfriend's. Leo nodded. He had Sophia send him the ex-girlfriend's phone number and address. He planned to go look for her that afternoon. Sophia understood, but after sending the info, she added, I don't have class this afternoon. I'll go with you. Leo's first instinct was to refuse. He didn't want to drag her into this mess. But Sophia quickly said, I'll just come along. I won't say a word. Leo had to agree. It had been a few days, and to be honest, he'd missed her. He wanted to spend more time with her anyway. All right, it's a deal. You can bring your ears, but leave your mouth at home. Sophia playfully covered her mouth and nodded enthusiastically. What do you want for lunch? Leo asked, the immediate plan settled. Sophia pursed her lips in thought. Anything is fine for lunch. But are you free tonight? It's my roommate's birthday. Leo pretended to ponder this deeply before saying with a serious face, Is she pretty? Sophia blinked, then nodded. Very. Too bad she has a boyfriend. Leo sighed. That is a shame. Well, you wanted to see if I can steal her away for you, he asked, a twinkle in his eye. Really? Sophia teased back. She burst out laughing and grabbed his arm, pulling him along. Of course not. In your dreams. Leo had only meant it as a joke to tease her, but he was starting to realize he was the one being played. After a simple lunch at a UO dining hall, they caught a cab into the city. The reporter's name was Liam Bell, a recent college grad who'd been working at a local TV station for a year. He hadn't had a breakout story yet, so he was banking everything on this one. His ex-girlfriend was renting a place with a friend in town. The address wasn't hard to find. Hi, is Hannah Mason here? Leo asked after knocking. A moment later, a woman in her early 20s opened the door. She looked Leo up and down before shaking her head. She's not here. She didn't come home last night. Are you looking for her for something? Hearing she wasn't there, Leo decided not to bother her further. I'm a friend of Gabe Science. If she comes back, could you have her contact me? Thank you. He handed the woman a slip of paper with his number on it. She took it. Okay. Leaving Hannah's apartment, Leo fell into deep thought. She hadn't been home last night. Coincidentally, Liam Bell had also disappeared last night. It seemed likely they were together. The problem was, neither of their phones were reachable. All Leo could do now was hope they were okay. Just as Leo was running out of ideas, Sophia's phone rang. After she answered, she quickly turned to him. Someone came to the company asking about Liam Bell. My mom is asking what's going on. Do you think you should tell her? Leo thought about it and decided it was necessary. After all, he was the one who had contacted Liam. Now, of the two people investigating, one was in the hospital and the other was missing. He never thought things would escalate this far. Let me call your mom, he said, pulling out his phone. He had Mrs. Sue's number saved. The call connected quickly, and Mrs. Sue's voice was as warm as ever. Leo, the world is a complicated place. If anything happens, you have to tell me. Leo had only met Sophia's mother a few times, but in her eyes, he was probably just a kid, same as Sophia. Her tone carried the distinct worry of a parent for a child who was too young to handle the world. Thank you for your concern, Mrs. Sue, Leo said respectfully before continuing. About Liam Bell. Here's what happened. Leo recounted the story of the Mill District from a bystander's perspective, framing the victim as a friend of his. That was why he wanted to use the media to expose the perpetrators. He just hadn't expected things to go so wrong. After hearing the story, Sophia's mother was silent for a long time. For this matter, you just need to insist you have nothing to do with it, she finally said. I'll have my friend in Washington keep an eye out. I remember Liam. He's a sharp kid. He'll be fine. Knowing the full story seemed to put her at ease. At least now, she knew how to handle it. This wasn't the first time she'd dealt with something like this. Leo thanked her again before hanging up. Though he didn't know her well, he was deeply grateful. She had helped him immensely, but he knew this wasn't the time for sentiment. The top priority was finding Liam Bell. Putting himself in Liam's shoes, if he had a crucial piece of evidence, his first thought should be to take it back to the news station. The moment it was broadcast, he'd be safe. But he hadn't done that, which was suspicious. Could there be a problem at the news station too? Thinking about it, it seemed plausible. The station had reported on the difficulties of the Mill District redevelopment a few times, but each time the story fizzled out. Sometimes they even shifted the blame onto the residents, calling them greedy holdouts. If that was the case, what would Liam do? Leak it online. That was an option, but it wouldn't help his career. He wanted to use this story to make a name for himself, to become a star reporter. He wouldn't just throw it away casually. Leo shook his head, deciding to stop thinking about it since he couldn't figure it out. No news was good news. News has a shelf life. If you wait too long, even the strongest evidence can be discredited. Liam was a professional in this field. He had to understand that. It was up to him to make the next move. Leo didn't plan to just wait around, though. If Liam didn't show up, he'd have to find another way. Rush sportswear sales had been impressive lately, and more franchisees were signing on. The balance in his account was getting closer and closer to his $2 million goal. That money needed to be put to work to outpace inflation. Leaving it in an account would only make it worth less over time. Since the land auction seemed to be a long way off, Leo decided not to wait. He would make some short-term investments. He wasn't considering futures. He wasn't a professional and would likely get fleeced. The stock market was the same. He couldn't remember which stocks were about to pop in 2004. That left him with the safer bets. Alibaba or Tencent. Leo combined the data he'd researched with his own memories. In 2004, Alibaba's annual transaction volume was still less than $100 million. But by 2005, it would be close to $10 billion. After that, it grew exponentially every year. Now was the perfect time to invest. As for Tencent, they were currently bogged down in lawsuits. They had massive user traffic, but hadn't yet converted it into a resource. That wouldn't happen until around 2008. Alibaba was the top choice, but according to his research, they had already completed their third round of financing in February 2004, raising over $100 million. They were now in the middle of a new round, targeting $80 million. His few million, and not even in US dollars, would barely make a ripple. What are you thinking about? Sophia asked, pulling on his hand. They had stopped at a crosswalk, and she waved her hand in front of his face when she saw he was still daydreaming. Leo snapped back to reality. I have about $2 million that I want to put into a short-term investment. What do you think is a solid move? Sophia knew Leo had money, but she never imagined it was that much. $2 million. It was a fortune. Now she was the one at a loss. If it were a few thousand, I could give you some advice. $2 million. You're on your own. Leo didn't mind. He said, half jokingly, it's fine. Didn't you say you'd support me if I went bankrupt? Here's your chance to make me go broke. His tone didn't sound entirely like a joke. Sophia smiled playfully. Why don't you just give it to me? Leo looked up at the sky. The moon is beautiful today. It's broad daylight. What moon? Leo pointed. No, look, it's really there. Sometimes you could see the moon during the day. Today just happened to be one of those days. That afternoon, Leo wandered around with Sophia. She's turning 20. What do you think would be a good gift? She asked, looking at him for advice after browsing a gift shop without finding anything she liked. Are you too close? Leo asked. We're roommates. We get along fine. What's her family situation like? That's the problem. It's pretty average. That's why it's so hard to choose. Sophia explained. If I pick something too expensive, it looks like I'm showing off. Too cheap, and it seems like I don't care. And I can't overshadow her boyfriend's gift. Leo threw his hands up. Well, you can keep agonizing over it. I never knew giving a gift was so complicated. Sophia covered her mouth and giggled. She'd always been good at navigating social situations like this. We're already in the neighborhood. After you buy the gift, let's go check out the Rush office. I have something to ask Lorraine. The gift shop Sophia had chosen was only a few minutes' walk from Rush Sportswear's regional headquarters. Since they were so close, Leo figured he'd stop by. Okay, Sophia agreed. She didn't have any other plans. She was happy to just follow Leo. Knowing Leo had business to attend to, Sophia picked out a gift much faster. Within minutes, she'd selected a small piece of jewelry and had the owner gift wrap it. After several rounds of expansion, Rush was now one of the country's top athletic brands. The Pacific Northwest headquarters, being one of its most important branches, was constantly growing. More space meant more people, and inevitably, some of the new hires didn't recognize Leo. Hello, sir. May I ask who you're here to see? A receptionist stopped Leo as soon as he walked in. Sophia stifled a laugh. This was a rare sight, the boss being barred from his own company. Leo wasn't angry. This was a good sign of professionalism. I'm here to see Lorraine. Could you please let her know? The receptionist maintained her service industry smile. Do you have an appointment? Leo shook his head. No, but it's fine. Just tell her Mr. White is here. The receptionist sized him up, nodded, and went to call Laura's assistant. Just then, another person walked over. She saw Leo, and her eyes widened in surprise. How'd you find this place? Hannah didn't come to work today. Leo froze. The voice was familiar. He turned around. What a coincidence. It was Hannah Mason's roommate. Hannah works for Rush. What are the odds? Leo was genuinely surprised. The woman realized her mistake. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were here looking for Hannah. Leo shook his head. No problem. Just then, the receptionist finished her call and hurried back over. Mr. White, I apologize for the wait. Ms. Ian said she's on her way down to get you. Her attitude was much more deferential now. On the phone, when she'd mentioned to Mr. White, the assistant's first question had been whether she had given him any trouble. If she had, she was told she should just quit on the spot. Only after confirming that everything was fine did the assistant relax and say that Ms. Ian was coming down immediately. That reaction made the young receptionist realize that Leo was someone important. Get me? It's fine, I can find my own way. Leo knew the layout perfectly. There was no need for all the fuss. He started walking toward Laura's office on his own. But Laura was fast. She was already jogging toward him. Someone tried to force their way into the office a while back, she explained as she approached. So I told the front desk that all strangers need to have their identities verified now. It's not her fault. Leo had no intention of holding a grudge against a young employee. He just frowned. Who? Who would be so bold? Who else? Laura sighed. That guy from last time. That jogged Leo's memory. The younger son of the Hanlon group. You and him. Leo's eyes glinted with a gossipy, sleazy expression. Laura just rolled her eyes at him. It's just a business relationship. She quickly changed the subject. Anyway, let's talk in my office. She then looked at Sophia. Sophia, long time no see. Sophia, long time no see. Laura, it's been a while. You look more beautiful than ever. You're much better with words than Mr. White here. Ahem. Leo cleared his throat, signaling that was enough. Laura smiled, but didn't press it. She turned to the receptionist. Jenny, from now on, when Mr. White comes to the company, he doesn't need clearance. The receptionist, Jenny, nodded immediately. Understood, Ms. Ian. Can you check for me if we have an employee named Hannah Mason? As soon as they were in Laura's office, Leo made himself at home in her executive chair. The move was so practiced it even surprised Sophia. Laura, however, was used to it. She just poured them both a glass of water. I'll have someone check right away, she said, then asked cautiously, is there a problem with her? Leo never concerned himself with branch employees. The last time he'd asked about one was Fat Ray, who had been fired long ago. It was no wonder Laura was curious. Leo shrugged. No problem. Just see if anyone knows where she is right now. Seeing that Leo wasn't going to elaborate, Laura tactfully dropped it and asked her assistant to investigate. By the way, take a look at this. Laura handed him a document. The first batch of bikes has been deployed at your university. 300 in total. She had been meaning to talk to him about the bike launch. Leo took the agreement without even looking at it. Let's run a trial for a week and see how it goes. If the results are good, we'll increase the investment. You can also start reaching out to the surrounding colleges. The vice president said he'd help, but we can't rely entirely on him. Laura rolled her eyes. Boss, my main job is managing Russia's operations in the Pacific Northwest. Leo gave her a baffled look. I know. The two aren't mutually exclusive. Deploying bikes is part of operations. He must have felt a twinge of guilt because he added jokingly, Laura, you should come down to the university strip sometime. Lots of guys there, and plenty who appreciate a successful woman. I can even scout out a couple of strong ones for you. Sophia burst out laughing. Laura, don't listen to his nonsense. Laura, however, nodded seriously. You know, I hope he's not kidding. Sounds kind of exciting. Leo was stunned. He stared at her for a long moment before managing to get a few words out. I never knew you were that kind of person, Laura. All thanks to my boss's excellent guidance. Laura didn't want to waste any more time on this topic. After a bit of banter, she steered the conversation back to business. Boss, it's already November. Are we having an annual party next month? The concept of an annual party had been Leo's idea. For a company to develop healthily, it needed a unique corporate culture, and the annual party was a crucial part of that. Already, Leo was surprised. How was it the end of the year already? He felt like he'd done nothing in 2004, and now it was almost over. Sure, let's do it. Coordinate with Mr. Stewart. Have him call a meeting with all the regional managers to discuss the details. Laura could only sigh at Leo's hands-off approach. It was just as he himself had said. Once the company reached a certain size, he, the chairman, would become the most useless figurehead, a mere puppet for signing documents. All right then, Laura nodded. Then she asked, anything else? Leo was flabbergasted. Was she kicking him out? Laura didn't hide it. You may not be busy, but I am. If you're that bored, I have a few files here. Before she could finish, Leo shot up from his chair. Sophia, quick, say goodbye to your sister Laura. We'll visit again next time. He was just here to drop by. He had no intention of actually working. Just as they were about to leave, Laura's assistant came in. Ms. Ian, we do have an employee named Hannah Mason. She was hired a month ago. She didn't come to work today. Laura looked at Leo. Could you please also ask around and see who she was close with here? Leo said to the assistant. Find out if she has any family or friends in Washington she might be staying with. Very few people at the regional headquarters knew Leo's true identity, and the few managers who did kept his secret. So the assistant looked to Laura for confirmation. Seeing her nod, she agreed. Of course. Just report any news to Ms. Ian, Leo said, then turned to Laura. Laura, this is very important to me. Laura was smart. She knew when Leo was joking and when he was serious. She nodded. I'll let you know as soon as I hear anything. Then I won't disturb you any longer, Leo said. I'll treat you to dinner some other time. With that, he led Sophia out of the office. After he left, Laura's young assistant weakly asked, Ms. Ian, who is this Mr. White? Laura shot her a cold look. The assistant was so frightened she immediately apologized. I'm sorry, Ms. Ian, I overstepped. Once they were out of Laura's office, Sophia finally asked, those bikes at your university? That was you. The new bike-sharing program at the business school had become the talk of a university town. Even Sophia had heard about it. Yep. You know they're building that new food court next to my school, right? I figured I'd use the bikes to drive traffic there. Leo briefly explained his plan, then looked at her smugly. His expression clearly said, praise me. Praise me now. Sophia didn't mind indulging his little ego trip. She leaned in and gave him a quick kiss on the cheek. You're brilliant. I'm serious. It was only in moments like these that Sophia felt like Leo was truly her age. Leo touched his cheek. That felt nice. Sophia then added, have you thought about launching it at the University of Oregon? From what I've heard, the model is really popular on campus. When I was filming the promotional video for the school, I got to know some of the faculty in the student activities office. I could try to talk to them. Leo nodded eagerly. Since you like it so much, you want to bring this gift to the students of UO? Well, for your sake, I suppose I can reluctantly agree. Now you're just being smug, Sophia muttered. I can only say I'll try my best. That's more than enough, Leo said. The visit to Rush was just a detour. Leo spent a while longer wandering around with Sophia, and around 5 o'clock, she suggested they head back to campus for her roommate's birthday dinner. Leo didn't have a strong memory of Sophia's roommates, vaguely recalling 2 girls who had shouted encouragement from their balcony, telling him to be brave and hold her hand. Sophia, over here. Outside the UO campus, Sophia and Leo had just gotten out of a taxi when they heard someone call out to them. They looked over and saw a group of about 5 or 6 people, a mix of guys and girls, along with Sophia's 3 roommates. When they saw Sophia and Leo holding hands, their expressions varied. Some smiled and nodded in greeting, while others just watched with cold indifference. Hey, handsome, we meet again, a short-haired girl said with a laugh as Sophia and Leo approached. I heard there was free food, so I shamelessly tag along, Leo joked back. The short-haired girl covered her mouth and giggled, her eyes glinting with mischief. What? Our Sophia hasn't been feeding you enough. Sophia was speechless, worried her friend would say something even more outrageous. She quickly handed over the gift she was holding. Holly, happy birthday. Holly Chow cheerfully accepted the gift, her eyes crinkling into a smile as she said thanks. For the gift's sake, I'll hold my questions for now. She then looked at Leo and whispered, hey, handsome, if you need any help, you can let me know. Like, say, covering for you during room checks at night. Leo blinked, then replied instinctively, well, thanks in advance. The moment the words left his mouth, he felt Sophia glare at him. Holly noticed and let out a cackle. After a bit of teasing, another person in the group checked their watch and said to Holly, Holly, can you give them a call and see how much longer they'll be? Sure, right away, Holly said, pulling out her phone. Just then, an old Ford Taurus pulled up nearby and honked twice. Holly, hearing the voice, Holly put her phone away. Go find a parking spot. We were just waiting for you. 3 guys got out of the car. The one in the lead was holding a bouquet of flowers, which he presented to Holly. Happy birthday. Sorry to keep you waiting. It's fine. Holly was clearly thrilled. She linked her arm with his and brought him over to Sophia and the others. You've met everyone, and this is Leo, Sophia's boyfriend. Holly trailed off, unsure of the official title. Sophia's face flushed, and she turned her head away, not bothering to correct her. Leo, however, proactively extended his hand to the guy. Hey, nice to meet you. The guy smiled back. I've heard Sophia had a handsome boyfriend. It's nice to finally meet you. All right, you're going to make him blush, Holly interrupted. Let's go eat. Okay. It was all just pointless social pleasantries, and Leo had no desire to be overly enthusiastic. A simple introduction was enough. Chatting with Sophia was far more interesting. Why didn't you correct her just now? Leo whispered. Sophia feigned confusion, blinking her innocent, wide eyes. Correct what? Seeing her expression, Leo was happy to play along. You're right. Nothing to correct. Haha. Sophia smiled, a hint of mischief in her laugh. The restaurant Holly had chosen was just outside campus. It was packed with students who had just finished class. Back when the food truck strip was still around, it was never this crowded, someone grumbled. Tell me about it. Another quickly agreed. So many options, great food, and most importantly, it was cheap. I don't know why they shut it down. I heard they're building a new food court next door. No idea when it'll be finished. A food court? Forget it. You never know if the food will be authentic, and it's guaranteed to be expensive. When they started talking about the new food court, Sophia nudged Leo. She knew it was his project. I looked into it. They're building it really fast. It might even be open by the end of the semester, Holly's boyfriend added. Whoa, Connor, not satisfied with the campus market. You're already eyeing the food court? Someone who knew him asked in surprise. Connor scratched his head sheepishly. Gotta stay ahead of the curve. But seriously, this delivery gig is really profitable. He then turned his gaze to Leo. Brother, Holly told me you're from the business school. You must know about that dorm that's doing deliveries, right? This piqued Leo's interest. What about it? Are you doing it too? Connor grinned, admitting it freely. Yeah, I actually learned it from those guys at your school. Can you help me set up a meeting with their person in charge? The university town market is huge. It'd be best if we could all work together. Leo had expected someone to copy his model, but he hadn't thought it would be this fast. And now, by some strange coincidence, he'd met his competition. I'll do my best, he said. He wouldn't commit to anything until he knew what kind of person this Connor was. This encounter also served as a wake-up call for Leo. The guys in dorm 718 had grown complacent, content with just the business school market. It was time to put some pressure on them. Leo could have easily built his own team to do this, but he hadn't. On one hand, he had a good impression of his roommates and wanted to bring them along for the ride. On the other, he felt it wasn't the right time to fully develop the project. He chatted with Connor for a while longer. Leo learned his full name was Connor's son. He was about to be a senior and had been held back a year, so he was older than everyone else, which was why they all called him Connor. Leo's first impression was positive. He seemed like a natural businessman. Finally, Connor got straight to the point. You could tell those guys at your school. I'm planning to partner with the vendors in the new food court once it opens. We'll handle their delivery orders. For the university town, the market is massive. I can't handle it all myself for now. As Connor spoke with confidence, many of the people at the table, including Holly, looked at him with admiration. The only exception was Sophia. She was engrossed in her phone, seemingly oblivious, but anyone watching closely would see she was trying hard to suppress a smile. Leo nodded very seriously. I'll be sure to pass on the message. The food court? And delivery? From the moment Leo had the idea, he never intended to let anyone else have a piece of that business. Delivery was all about creating a monopoly. As far as he was concerned, the entire university town market was his. Connor said he couldn't handle it all for now, but Leo knew he could. I booked a room at the karaoke bar next door. Should we head over? Connor suggested after dinner. It was still early, and no one had any objections. Sophia checked with Leo and then nodded. It was her roommate's birthday, after all. It would be rude to leave right after dinner. Besides, in her view, as long as Leo was with her, it didn't matter where they went. Coincidentally, Leo felt the same way. He felt a little guilty and wanted to spend more time with her. The karaoke bar near campus was a respectable place where people really just went to sing. During the singing, Leo observed Connor. Though he acted carefree, he was very considerate. He reached for his pack of cigarettes several times, but always stopped himself. The private rooms were already stuffy, and one cigarette would make the whole place reek. That simple respect for others made a good impression. Have I ever even heard you sing? Sophia asked, leaning against Leo and looking up at him. I can't sing, Leo said with an embarrassed laugh. If only he could sing. He could just plagiarize a few hits and take off. Sophia pouted, clearly not believing him. Someone who could write songs but couldn't sing? But if he didn't want to, she wouldn't force him. She went over to the console and selected a couple of songs. On Sophia's other side sat another one of her roommates, Quinn Ho. She was the one who, along with Holly, had shouted from the balcony that Leo should just go for it. When Sophia went to pick songs, Quinn turned to Leo with a teasing smile. Hey Leo, Sophia is entering our school's campus singer competition. Are you going to come cheer her on? Leo genuinely didn't know about this. He looked at her confused. When is it? She didn't tell you? Quinn asked, surprised. The preliminary rounds start next week. It's expected to last about 2 weeks. She then added, our competition attracts a lot of talent scouts every year. If Sophia makes a big splash, her future will be set. You'd better step up your game, too. Quinn was trying to give Leo a gentle nudge. Sophia was exceptional, and he needed to feel a little pressure. Besides, their impression of Leo wasn't great. They had personally seen him carrying another girl on his back with a lot of affection. Sophia had seen it too, though for some reason she pretended she hadn't. Her words might have worked on someone else, but for Leo, this small matter was hardly enough to cause any stress. Becoming a star? If Sophia wanted to, she could have been famous ages ago. Leo sensed the good intentions in Quinn's tone and thanked her. Thanks for the heads up. I'll work hard. What are you two talking about? You look so happy, Sophia said, returning from the console. Nothing, just telling Leo about the campus singer competition next week. Sophia threw up her hands in mock despair. I was going to wait until I made it to the semifinals to tell him. Now if I get eliminated in the first round, it'll be so embarrassing. Her other two roommates couldn't stand it. Sophia, are you underestimating your own talent, or are you overestimating everyone else? When it comes to just singing, you're better than a lot of professional singers. Sophia gave a playful smile. And what if it's not just about singing? Holly rolled her eyes. If it's not just about singing and we factor in your looks, your aura, and your education, then no current pop star stands a chance. Connor, who had been drinking with someone else, burst out laughing, spitting out his drink. Holly, sitting next to him, shot him a glare. Am I wrong? Connor glanced at Sophia, then quickly looked away. I can vouch for her. She's telling the truth. He then looked at Leo with envy. Leo, you're a lucky man. Leo scratched his nose and said wistfully, you probably won't believe this, but I've never actually heard her sing. Sophia thought for a moment, then clapped her hands. You know what? I think you're right. Holly chimed in from the side. Hey, you're the console. Have you got any sense? Whatever Sophia just picked, cue it up. Huh? Oh, right away. The person at the machine quickly hit the next song button. When a melody started, Leo froze. He couldn't sing, but he'd heard a lot of songs. Though he couldn't remember most of the lyrics, a few were exceptions. Finally made this choice. I don't care what people say, as long as you feel the same way. I'm willing to go to the ends of the earth with you. Sophia's voice was beautiful, with an undertone of heartbreaking emotion. As she sang, she looked at Leo. When she saw he was looking back, she quickly averted her gaze. My heart keeps rehearsing, convincing myself, terrified you'll suddenly say you want to give up. Love truly needs courage to face the gossip and rumors. As long as I have your confirming gaze, my love has meaning. We all need courage. After hearing her sing, everyone understood why Holly had said no one else stood a chance. She was an incredible singer. It wasn't until a round of applause filled the room that Leo snapped out of it. He'd found his courage not from a song, but from Sophia. Was it good? She asked after she finished, her cheeks still flushed in the dim light. It was amazing, Leo nodded quickly. It really was. Her voice was amazing, and the song was amazing. Good. I'm never singing that for you again. Leo shook his head vehemently. It's fine. I'll sing it to you. I thought you couldn't sing, Sophia said, annoyed. I can learn for you. Sophia covered her mouth and giggled. Then it's a deal. All right, Professor Sue, will you teach me? No way. The playful, flirty tone of their conversation was getting to be too much. Quinn couldn't take it anymore and shuffled a little further away. Who picked this next song? She announced loudly. Ooh, The Strength Inside. I know this one. I'm singing along. Quinn picked up a microphone. As the intro played, before the lyrics appeared, the music video's credits rolled on the screen. Lyrics, music, and vocals. Quinn saw it and glanced at Leo. Hey, Leo, what a coincidence. The songwriter has the same name as you. Leo just shrugged. What a coincidence indeed. Connor chimed in from the side. What do you mean, coincidence? Leo, don't tell me it's actually you. His comments set off a wave of murmurs. No way. Leo already said he can't sing. Quinn pinched her chin, thinking for a moment. Well, it's not impossible. Mandy Moore even said the reason she's holding her concert in Seattle is that she wants to meet the songwriter. As their speculation grew wilder, Leo raised his glass. You'd have to be drunk to be talking like this. Who's drunk? Quinn shot back. If you're not drunk, then why are you spouting such nonsense? If Leo hadn't said that, everyone might have kept guessing, but his denial made them all think he was just joking around. According to Mandy Moore, the person who wrote the lyrics was very low-key, so much so that even she had never met them. And Leo was anything but low-key. Leo, I'm counting on you, Connor said as they were leaving, his tone serious despite the amount he'd had to drink. Please help me get in touch with them. Leo gave a perfunctory nod, then left with Sophia. Outside the karaoke bar, the couples went their separate ways, and the singles formed their own groups. It was an efficient, drama-free party. I remember you said you wanted tickets to the Mandy Moore concert, right? Sophia asked suddenly as he was walking her back. Leo nodded. He wasn't personally a huge fan, but Shane was desperate to go, so he'd asked Sophia to see what she could do. She had better connections. Yeah, were you able to get any? Sophia stopped walking and pulled a few tickets from her bag. I only have 4 for now, she said, handing them to him. Take them. If more people want to go, just let me know, and I'll get them in. Leo took the tickets and fell in a thought. What's wrong? Sophia asked. Leo shook his head with a sigh. It's good to have connections. Sophia shot him a look and started walking again. When she noticed Leo hadn't followed, she turned and called, Let's go. After dropping Sophia off at her dorm, Leo went straight back to 718. His roommates had already adapted to life with 3 people. It was the same with or without him. In fact, things were more harmonious when he was gone, because whenever something went wrong, they could just say it's all Leo's fault. He wouldn't hear it anyway. The professor actually did a surprise roll call today. What rotten luck. It's all Leo's fault. He skips so often it makes me not want to go either. Mark, there's no toilet paper in here. I'm in the middle of something. Bring me some. Seriously, it's all Leo's fault. He's never here, so no one restocks the damn toilet paper. Shane's complaints from the bathroom were met with silence. He called out again. Mark, do you hear me? Still no answer from Mark. He had to try someone else. Chad, you there? Nope. Chad replied, unhelpfully. Come on, I'm not kidding. Give me some paper. My legs are going numb. Shane, just pretend I'm not here, Chad said. So what if there's no paper? Just squat for a while, it'll dry. You can walk out on your own. Hearing this, Shane couldn't help but curse. I'm gonna kill you. After a few more failed pleas, he started grumbling again. Damn it, it's all Leo's fault. Chad and Mark, listening from the main room, winced. Leo, he really needs a beating. I know, I've told him so many times, but he just doesn't listen. Leo rolled his eyes. Like I believe you guys. 3 people, a dozen schemes. A long while later, Shane finally emerged from the bathroom, walking stiffly. The first thing he saw was Leo sitting on the balcony, smoking. He froze. Leo, when did you get back? Leo glanced at him and said coldly, right around the time you said the professor did a roll call. Shane blinked awkwardly. So you heard everything? Heard what? Leo feigned ignorance. Heard me saying how brilliant and godlike you are, Shane said quickly. Mark couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing. When it came to being shameless, if Shane was second in the dorm, no one dared claim first. Leo was so exasperated he didn't know what to say. He pulled out his phone and started recording. Did you just come out of there without wiping? Shane didn't care anymore. He lunged for the phone, trying to stop him from filming. If that got out, his life would be over. Leo, I was wrong. Bro, my dear bro. From now on, you're my brother. Leo was just joking. Fearing Shane's unwiped state, he quickly backed away. All right, fine. Just go take a shower first. You have to promise you won't tell anyone. Shane said, still terrified. I won't. While Shane was in the shower, Leo sat back down in the room. Mark immediately started sucking up to him. Leo, how long are you back for this time? What do you mean? You make it sound like I'm never here, Leo said grumpily. Aren't you? Mark thought, but on the outside, he just smiled. Of course not. We just really missed you while you were gone. Ha ha ha. Chad, hearing this, couldn't stop himself from roaring with laughter. Sorry, haha, you guys continue. Shane showered at record speed. Seeing Chad doubled over in laughter, he walked over and gave him a light kick. What's so funny? You missed him too, right? He had heard the whole conversation from the bathroom. His top priority now was to appease Leo, so he wouldn't spill the beans. Leo, I missed you so much, he declared, running toward Leo for a hug. Before he could get close, Leo held up a hand to stop him. Are you clean? Shane froze, then whispered tentatively, You want? Check. Leo waved his hands frantically. No, that's okay. While talking, he deliberately dangled the concert tickets. I was going to give these to you, but now. Shane hadn't noticed them at first, but when he heard Leo's words, he looked closer. He could just make out the name Mandy Moore. He instantly got excited. Bro, you have no idea. While you were gone, they were talking so much trash about you. I shut them all down. It's been so long. How about I sleep next to you tonight? Chad secretly gave him a thumbs up. Truly shameless. He'd thrown all dignity out the window. Leo was so grossed out he shivered. Stop. The concert is in a few days. I'll decide based on your performance until then. Shane nodded vigorously. Bro, what do you want for breakfast tomorrow? I'll go get it for you. His sycophantic act was getting so ridiculous that Leo just ignored him and turned to Mark and Chad. How's business been? At the mention of business, everyone dropped the theatrics and got serious. For our school, it's been great, Mark said, but he paused for a moment before continuing. I've heard that people at the surrounding colleges have started copying our model. The University of Oregon next door is doing really well. They've even started partnering with off-campus vendors. He was clearly feeling the pressure. In business, the first mover advantage is everything. One step behind could mean falling behind for good. Competition is inevitable. It all depends on what we do next, Leo said. What are your thoughts? Mark spoke up. The 3 of us already discussed it before you got back. We have 2 options. One is to maintain the status quo, focus on our school's business, and use the profits to think about other ventures. Leo didn't interrupt, signaling for him to continue. Many people had good business ideas but shelved them for various reasons. Even if they had the courage to take the first step, a little success often led to complacency and they ultimately failed. Startups were a numbers game where failure was the norm. If this was the path they chose, Leo wouldn't blame them. Mark continued, the other option is to immediately start expanding into other schools. Once we have a larger market share, we can launch an offensive and crush them. Leo blinked, looking at him in surprise. So, did you reach a decision? Mark scratched his head, embarrassed. The three of us didn't want to give up, so we decided to wait for you to make the call. Leo was the anchor of dorm 718. Even Shane and Chad admitted it. Whenever they ran into a problem they couldn't solve, he was the first person they thought of. Leo, what should we do? Shane asked. Chad pulled up a chair and sat down too. I've already done some research on the nearby schools, Chad said. The market environment is excellent. The main problem is breaking in. We don't know anyone, and other schools can be a bit cliquey. Leo's initial thought was to use some dirty tricks to shut down the competition, stage a minor safety incident during a delivery, then unleash a wave of online criticism and media reports questioning the legality of their model. Public opinion and online bullying could easily crush a small enterprise. But then he remembered they were all just students and felt a pang of guilt. They could learn about the dark side of society when they actually entered society. That left him with a gentler approach. Shane, tomorrow, I want you to contact the student government presidents from the surrounding colleges. Invite them out for a meal or something. Figure out how to do it. Leo looked at Shane appraisingly. You can handle that, right? Shane was an extrovert, great at dealing with people. In modern terms, he was a social butterfly. This was the perfect job for him. A confident grin spread across Shane's face. No problem. It's just the budget. Business was business, but the money had to be discussed first. It wasn't that Shane was materialistic. It was about keeping the finances transparent for the group. Leo appreciated that about him. If someone was always paying out of their own pocket, it might be fine once or twice, but it would inevitably cause problems down the line. How much do we have in our account? Leo asked Mark, the treasurer. He was in charge of all of 718's finances. 4,600, Mark replied instantly. You made over $4,000 this month. Leo was surprised. That was a significant income for a group of students. Mark added, we sell at the exact price on the supermarket tags, so our profit margin is low, and we've already split some with our reps. It's actually pretty good. Leo nodded. Right now, we have no inventory costs, so that 4,000 is all working capital. Does anyone need money urgently? Shane and Chad shook their heads. Only Mark looked conflicted. His family was the least well off in the dorm. Since starting college, he had been determined to get a part-time job to support himself. Leo saw his dilemma. You guys might not need it, but I do. I've been so broke lately, it's making me anxious. How about this? Let's split this month's profits. Shane, you figure out a rough budget for what it'll take to grease the wheels at the other schools. Chad and Shane had no objections, and Mark let out a sigh of relief. He had already told his family not to send him living expenses next month. He knew Leo was just making an excuse so he wouldn't feel awkward. There was no way Leo was actually short on cash. After settling things with Shane, Leo turned to Chad. Chad, tomorrow, go find the supermarket owner. After assigning their tasks, Leo finally asked, by the way, has the university contacted you guys about participating in the student entrepreneurship competition? The others looked at him surprised. No, Mark said. Our advisor, Mr. Liu, mentioned it in class, saying anyone with ideas could sign up. Leo, are you saying we should enter? Leo frowned slightly. Vice President Jang should have already started working on this. Had something gone wrong? It looked like he'd have to go ask him. Since no one knew about it yet, Leo decided not to tell them for now. If the conditions are right, we could, he said. I have an agreement with an elder I know. If we can make it to the national finals, he'll be our angel investor. At the words angel investor, Mark and the others' eyes lit up. As business majors, they knew exactly what that meant. For a startup, having an angel investor for the first round of financing alone was enough to make the founders rich. The subsequent business value would be even greater. Now, none of the guys in 718 had any intention of sleeping. This led to Leo being unable to wake up the next day. It wasn't until his phone rang that he blindly pressed the answer button. Today's weather is perfect for sleeping and terrible for class. Don't mind me. Chloe's bell-like laughter came from the other end of the line. Leo's excuses were always so direct. All right then, want to have lunch together? Some other day, definitely. Not today, Leo said, refusing flatly before hanging up. He forced his eyes open and glanced around. Great, the other guys were still asleep too. Since they were all on the same page, he pulled the covers over his head and went back to sleep. But not long after, his phone rang again. This time, it wasn't just Leo. Shane and the others were getting annoyed too. Leo, can you please put your phone on silent? Shane grumbled, half asleep. Are you trying to keep people from sleeping? If he hadn't said that, Leo might have felt a little guilty. But his complaint just annoyed Leo. Sleep? Did you forget that this morning is Professor Lee's class? The Professor Lee who does roll call every single class and fails you if you miss twice. Leo didn't remember many professors, but Professor Lee was one of them. The reason was simple. The man had told him to his face that he would fail, period. Leo had even tried to pull some strings to get him to reconsider, but the man was incorruptible. He just said a fail is a fail. After Leo's reminder, Shane and the others shot up in bed. Oh crap, Leo couldn't be bothered with them. It wasn't his problem. He answered the phone. What's up? It was Laura Een. She got straight to the point. I have news about Hannah Mason. Hearing this, Leo's drowsiness vanished. Where? The woman she rents with is also one of our employees. Her name is Jenny Lee. You've met her, Laura said. She got a call from Hannah yesterday, asking her to bring some daily necessities to a relative's house. Leo didn't care how Laura had convinced Jenny to share this information. She had her methods. He just said, give me the address. Why don't you come to the office first? Jenny can take you there, Laura suggested. Leo thought about it and decided her idea was more practical. Okay. After hanging up, Leo didn't even bother to wash up. He threw on his clothes and ran out. He was desperate to know what that reporter had filmed. He first found Chloe to borrow her car keys, then contacted Spike, planning to bring him along. Spike was at the gaming lounge, and by the time Leo drove up, he was already waiting downstairs. Leo, maybe I should be the one to make contact, Spike suggested, knowing Leo's intentions were good. Leo just shook his head. One more word and you can get out of the car. Spike shut his mouth. When Leo saw Jenny Lee again, she was waiting downstairs at the company building, holding a large bag of what looked like supplies for Hannah. Laura's assistant was with her. She smiled when she saw Leo. Mr. White, Ms. Een is in a meeting and couldn't come see you. This is Jenny, Ms. Een said to leave the rest to her. Leo nodded his thanks. Okay, thank you. He then looked at Jenny. Jenny, we meet again. Jenny looked him over curiously, then nodded. Hello, Mr. White. Let's get in the car first. Leo didn't have time for small talk. Jenny opened the back door and paused when she saw Spike sitting there. But she didn't hesitate for long and got in. Leo remembered Chloe saying she didn't like people sitting in her passenger seat. If she didn't like it, Leo figured he shouldn't either. It was her car, after all. Though, to be shameless, someone else's car was always more comfortable to drive. Following Jenny's directions, Leo drove to an alley in an old part of the city. The lane was flanked by dilapidated residential buildings. While others might look at the area with disdain, Leo's eyes lit up. These weren't old buildings. They were future demolition sites, the kind that came with a multi-million-dollar payout per unit. Mr. White, will you wait here or come with me? Jenny asked tentatively after Leo parked the car. It's not like we're doing anything shady. Why hide? Let's go together, Leo said, getting out of the car. He still gave Spike an instruction. You stay here. Jenny didn't say anything else. She found a payphone and made a call. After hanging up, she walked back to Leo. She'll be here soon. While they were waiting for Hannah, Jenny couldn't help but ask, Mr. White, you and Ms. Een from our company are very close, aren't you? Leo glanced at her, then casually lit a cigarette. We're pretty close. Why? Jenny hesitated for a moment, then bit her lip. Our team leader got promoted. His position is open. Leo loved dealing with direct people like this. Just say what you want. The guessing games were a hassle. I'll ask about it for you. A team leader position was nothing in Leo's eyes. If she really helped him find a reporter, he'd do more than make her a team leader. He could create a new department and make her the do-nothing supervisor. What big company didn't have a few loafers on the payroll anyway? The salary wasn't high, but this trivial gesture was, in Jenny's eyes, a massive gift. Thank you, Mr. White. As they were talking, Hannah finally arrived. She froze when she saw Leo standing with Jenny. Jenny, who is he? Jenny didn't know how to answer. Strictly speaking, she had betrayed Hannah's trust. Leo spoke first. Hannah Mason? Hello, I'm a friend of Gabex Science. Your boyfriend should know him. Leo noticed her eyes start to dart around. He could feel her nervousness. Just as she was about to speak, he cut her off. Don't say you don't know him or that you don't have a boyfriend. Why don't you go ask him first? I was the one who hired him to find clues in the first place. And now, I'm the only one who can help him. Hannah was stunned. Leo didn't give her time to think. I'll wait right here. After you've asked him, if you still think I'm not trustworthy, then we can pretend we never met. And I'll pretend I don't know anything about this. Hearing this, Hannah finally looked up at Leo and nodded. Okay. She turned and jogged away, glancing back every few steps to see if Leo was following. Leo had no intention of following her himself. He just gave Spike a look. He would go, If this could be resolved peacefully, that was for the best. If not, then he'd let Spike handle it. They had gone to the trouble of getting Gabe deep into debt just to get him on the inside. Now that they had the evidence, they were trying to disappear? Not a chance. Not to mention, Gabe was still lying in a hospital bed. This wasn't over. Tailing a naive young woman was child's play for Spike. Mr. White, do you think I'm a terrible person? Jenny asked with a bitter smile after Hannah left. So disloyal. Hannah had trusted her with the address, and she had sold her out in an instant. Leo thought for a moment before comforting her. Only children talk about good and bad. Adults are more concerned with pros and cons. If you feel guilty, you don't have to. For her, I'm the best option for solving this. What you did was help her. Jenny sighed. So according to you, Mr. White, I'm actually a good person. In that case, want to exchange numbers? Be friends. Leo turned his head away, pretending he hadn't heard. It's getting colder, isn't it? Being friends with someone like Jenny Lee meant you'd have to be on guard 24/7. You never knew when you'd get sold out. Leo didn't even entertain the thought. Besides, she had nothing to offer him. He didn't have to wait long. About 10 minutes later, Hannah Mason walked toward him. Mr. White. She hesitated. Leo was so young that any formal address felt awkward. Leo didn't mind. He just nodded. Have you decided? Hannah nodded back. Yes. Come with me. He's waiting for you. And she started, then paused. And what? Leo prompted. Is what he said true? Hannah's brow furrowed slightly. I mean, after this, will he really have enough money for us to get married? She and Liam Bell, the reporter, still had feelings for each other. They had only broken up because of his family's financial situation. If, as Liam claimed, this one job could set them up for marriage. Leo didn't know how to answer that. He settled for, I don't know if he'll make money. I just know that after this, he might become the most talked about reporter in the state of Washington. For Hannah, that was enough. Please follow me. She stopped asking questions and led the way. After navigating a few narrow alleys and side streets, Leo followed her up the stairs of an old, run-down apartment building. The location was well hidden and genuinely hard to find. Before meeting Liam, Leo had imagined some ambitious, fresh-faced college grad. The reality made him freeze. Liam, his hair was so greasy it was matted into clumps, and his face was covered in several days' worth of stubble. He was only in his early 20s, but looked like a burnt-out, middle-aged man. Liam's mental state was clearly fragile. Some kind of blow had left him shattered. He looked up, his eyes vacant, and gave a numb nod when Leo greeted him. Is Gabe Xian okay? He's fine. He's woken up, Leo said, cutting to the chase. What did you manage to film? Liam glanced around nervously. Leo got the hint and turned to Jenny, who had followed them in. Why don't you wait for me outside? Though Jenny was dying of curiosity, she was smart enough to know when to leave. Hannah went with her. Once they were alone, Liam got up and pulled a small mini DV camcorder from a cabinet. He connected it to the television and pressed play. See for yourself. The footage showed a private room in a club. The image wasn't sharp, but the faces were clear enough. Leo didn't recognize anyone. Liam gave a bitter laugh. The one in the black shirt is the director at my station. He pointed to the others. And those guys are. After Liam finished his explanation, Leo shut off the TV. Give it to me. You don't need to worry about the rest. I'll handle it. The gambling on the tape was a minor issue. It was what they were saying that was truly explosive. The entire conversation was about how to deal with the residents of the Mill District, plotting all sorts of cons and strong-arm tactics to get them out. Crucially, they also discussed how they had the media on their side to control the narrative. You need to think this through, Liam warned. Once this gets out, think about the consequences. Besides the Hanlon Group executives and the TV station leadership, there were officials from other local government departments on that tape. Releasing it publicly would have massive repercussions. Leo ignored the warning and asked a different question. How did they find you out? Liam was a professional when it came to covert filming. You shouldn't have been so careless. A complex expression crossed Liam's face. The director. He recognized me. Leo fell silent. That was an occupational hazard. In his line of work, the last thing you wanted was to be recognized. I can give this to you, Liam said, his voice heavy. Leo knew what he wanted and answered before he could even ask. Don't worry. No matter how this ends, I'll find a way to make you one of the most successful reporters out there. It was just a verbal promise, but for Liam, it was everything. He was a drowning man, and Leo was his last piece of driftwood. After leaving with the DV camcorder, Leo found a quiet spot and called Mr. Ho. For something like this, you had to give a heads up to the right people. Once he had the green light, he dialed Ethan Jang's number. Some jobs were better suited for a man of Ethan's stature. All Leo needed was to be the one who handed him the weapon. In other words, he wasn't yet powerful enough to join their fight directly. Laying low and grinding was the only way to win. What Ethan did with this new leverage was his business. Didn't I tell you to stay out of this? To Leo's surprise, Ethan wasn't as thrilled as he'd expected. Instead, he sounded angry. You have no idea what kind of people the Hamlin Group are. Let me put it this way. If they find out you're connected to this. Before Ethan could finish, Leo cut in with a cheerful, almost flippant tone. That's why nobody knows. And why I'm calling you, right? Ethan sighed, his frustration palpable. You can only play with fire for so long before you get burned, Leo. You got lucky this time, but can you guarantee you'll be this lucky next time? Your business doesn't have to be this big. You're doing fine right now. It's more than enough to live comfortably for the rest of your life. Sometimes, knowing when to be satisfied is the key to happiness. Leo knew Ethan was warning him. The bigger the business, the more money you make, the less control you have over your own life. He was a living example of that. Ethan wouldn't bother saying this to anyone else. He'd let them crash and burn. But this was Leo. He didn't want Chloe to spend her life worrying. But only Leo knew the weight he was carrying. If it weren't for Chloe and Sophia, he'd happily settle down, enjoying his wealth. As long as he stayed away from gambling and drugs and didn't make any stupid investments, the money from Rush Sportswear would last him several lifetimes. But there were no if-onlys. He had to be strong enough, had to have enough power to face men like Ethan Jang on his own terms. Mr. Jang, Leo said, tired of the lecture. Just tell me, do you want it or not? Yes. Of course he wanted it. I'm on my way to you now. Ethan hung up. Leo smiled at the dial tone. It took him 5 minutes to say a one-word answer. He had been careful, though. He hadn't mentioned his call with Mr. Ho. Without that man's approval, Leo would never have made this move. These titans were ruthless and played without rules. He wouldn't have stepped onto their battlefield without being absolutely sure of his footing. Ethan was fast. That afternoon, while Leo was still sipping tea in Vice President Jang's office, he was already getting off the highway. It would only be another half an hour to the university. What is it? Do you have something to do? You can go ahead, Zhang said after Leo hung up the phone. He'd overheard snippets of the conversation. Leo casually placed his phone on the table and looked at Zhang. Mr. Vice President, you still haven't told me about the 718 Express situation. Leo had come to see Zhang specifically about the Innovate U competition. It had been understood that Zhang would recommend his 718 Express project. But now, he was being evasive, acting as if the conversation had never happened. Leo didn't believe for a second there wasn't a reason. Zhang gave a weak, apologetic smile. He knew Leo wasn't easy to fool. The matter is still under consideration. Yes, under consideration. Leo sighed. Mr. Zhang, is there some kind of trouble? You can just tell me. Zhang didn't speak. After a moment's thought, he pulled open a desk drawer and took out a file. Then, he simply got up and walked out of the office, pulling the door shut behind him. Old fox, Leo muttered under his breath. He walked over to the desk and opened the file. Connor's son again, he said to himself. I didn't realize he was a rich kid. According to the documents Zhang had left, Connor's son had already registered a company and submitted a business proposal to the university. It was a comprehensive plan for a delivery service covering the cafeteria, campus market, and other businesses. A competing plan was one thing. They could just compete fairly. But the file mentioned something else. Connor's parents were successful entrepreneurs with a net worth in the tens of millions, a fortune that rivaled, if not exceeded, Rush Sportswear's valuation. And they were fully backing his venture. Their support wasn't just a pat on the back and a good luck, son, like his dad gave him. It was real money and real connections. His seed funding alone was over $1 million, and they were already pulling strings for him. That was the advantage of being born on third base. You started the race miles ahead of everyone else. You couldn't be envious. It was just how it was. And the most critical point, he would be representing the University of Oregon at the Innovate U competition. Perhaps in Jang's eyes, Leo was also a rich kid. But the support he got from his family couldn't possibly compare to Connor's. With two similar business models competing, not only did Connor have a head start, but the prestige of a top-tier university like U of O gave him a massive advantage over a state school. The 718 Express didn't stand a chance. When Zhang re-entered the office, Leo had already put the file back where he found it. Oh my, how did I leave this out? Zhang said, feigning surprise as he put the file away. He genuinely wanted to support Leo, but in the face of such an overwhelming power imbalance, his support felt useless. Leo didn't call him out on it. He took a sip of tea and said, Mr. Zhang, an older relative of mine is coming by later. He's wanted to pay you a visit for a long time. Would you have a moment to see him? Zhang already felt guilty about the competition. He couldn't bring himself to refuse now. Of course. While waiting for Ethan, Leo started strategizing. He'd met Connor's son and had a decent impression of him. The guy was straightforward, openly admitting his business model was based on the 718 Express. That alone put him above most people. But Leo wasn't worried. When it came to market savvy, he was a decade ahead of everyone else. Even though this project wasn't his main focus, a little bit of his attention was more than enough to handle it. Connor's advantage came from his massive initial investment and his parents' connections. Coincidentally, those were two things Leo didn't lack. However rich Connor's family was, could they compare to Ethan Jang? Sure, Ethan was facing some trouble right now, but even a weakened lion is mightier than a horse. A few $1,000,000 was pocket change for him. If Ethan liked this project and was willing to invest, it was a done deal. And it just so happened that Leo had just given him a very big gift. Compared to that, this small investment was nothing. I'm at your campus. Should you come out, or? Ethan called Leo as soon as he reached the university entrance. He hadn't even told Chloe he was coming. Leo replied smoothly, "Didn't you say you've always wanted to visit Vice President Jang? I'm in his office right now. What do you think?" Ethan was a sharp man. He immediately understood that Leo was planning to borrow his clout again. He'd pulled this stunt before. At first, Ethan had found it shameless, but now he was getting used to it. "Fine, I'll come over." After Leo hung up, Zhang asked, "What should I call this elder of yours?" Leo spread his hands. "Ethan Jiang. You could just call him Ethan." "Ethan Jiang?" "Ethan." Zhang murmured the name. "Why does that sound so familiar?" He thought for another second, then his head snapped up. Isn't the chairman of the Jiang Corporation also named Ethan Jiang? As an economist, Zhang was familiar with the country's top entrepreneurs. He knew of Ethan Jiang, which was why his reaction was so strong. Leo was very pleased with his expression. "That's probably him," he said calmly. "It's really Mr. Jiang." Zhang shot to his feet, not even caring if Leo was telling the truth. "Come, let's go greet him at the gate." A man of his stature visiting the campus was big news. They couldn't be so casual. Leo agreed that they should go. Just as they were about to head out, Zhang's phone rang. "Yes, Mr. President. I'm on campus." Yes, I know. I was just on my way to greet him." "Don't worry. I'll be a good host." By the time Zhang hung up and was ready to leave, Ethan Jiang had already arrived. He knocked lightly on the office door. "Is Vice President Zhang in?" Zhang, not knowing who was at the door, looked slightly annoyed. He was busy. Who could this be? But he suppressed his irritation and hurried to the door, planning to politely send the person away. The moment he opened it and saw Ethan Jang's face, his expression changed as if he were a Sichuan opera performer swapping masks. A huge smile bloomed on his face. "Mr. Jiang, what brings you here? Please come in, come in." Ethan smiled back. "My apologies for the intrusion. I wanted to pay you a visit for a long time, but I never found the opportunity. He could play the part too." Zhang was flattered beyond words. He ushered Ethan in and rushed to pour tea. Leo stood up. "Uncle Ethan." Ethan shot Leo a subtle glare. What a mess. But Leo pretended not to see it. After Zhang served the tea, Ethan lifted the cup, sniffed it, took a small sip, and remarked, "This tea. It tastes very familiar." Leo said immediately, "I knew you'd be able to tell, Uncle Ethan. It's your tea, isn't it?" Ethan put down his cup and said nothing. Zhang also fell silent. The atmosphere grew heavy. Zhang's face was a mask of embarrassment. Leo, however, remained unfazed, casually playing with his phone. Ethan took another sip of tea, then set the cup down and turned to Zhang. "What do you think of this tea, Mr. Vice President?" "It's excellent." Ethan nodded. "I have some more back in my office. I'll have some sent over for you." "Oh, thank you so much." After a moment of pleasantries, Ethan looked at Leo, a silent question in his eyes. What exactly was he planning? Leo knew he couldn't play dumb any longer. He leaned toward him and smiled. "Uncle Ethan, that project I mentioned before. Are you still interested?" "Which project was that?" Ethan asked, feigning ignorance. Leo had pitched him a lot of ideas. He honestly couldn't remember which one he meant. "The 718 Express delivery model," Leo said quickly. Zhang's ears perked up. If Ethan Jiang was willing to get involved, success was guaranteed. Connor's son wouldn't stand a chance. Ethan glanced at Leo. "Didn't you say you were going to wait until the Innovate U competition to pick the best of the best?" Anyone else would have been embarrassed by that comment, a reminder of their own previous posturing. But Leo felt nothing of the sort. 500,000 for the first round, with a commitment of up to 2 million for the second. "What do you think?" he pitched. "Vice President Zhang is right here. As long as you agree, the university will also provide its full support for this venture." Zhang was stunned. He was quite sure he'd never said that, but he didn't expose Leo's lie. If Ethan really agreed, he'd support it. The university had nothing to lose. The amount was small potatoes to Ethan, so he didn't overthink it. Fine, but Chloe has to be involved. Of course, Leo replied instantly. That was his intention all along. Local Link was thriving, with a presence across the entire Pacific Northwest. It wasn't just for job hunting anymore. It covered apartment rentals, secondhand goods, and more. With a diverse range of services, its registered user base was approaching 1 million active users. Even though Chloe wasn't managing it day to day, she had a professional agency for that. The resources from her father's corporation fueled its rapid growth. Her user base would be the perfect foundation for expanding a delivery and group buying service. With Leo's confirmation, Ethan had no more objections. He nodded his assent. No problem. You can coordinate with my assistant. You have her contact info, right? Ethan was being so decisive partly because he saw potential in the project, but mostly because he wanted to repay Leo for the favor. The tape in his pocket was far more valuable to him than a couple of $1 million. I have it, Leo said, pleased. Jang, standing by, was completely dumbfounded. The deal was done? Just like that? He'd been in business negotiations before. There were always grueling battles of wit and words that lasted for hours before a final decision was made. These two had just settled a multi-million-dollar deal like they were discussing what to have for dinner. If he didn't know who Ethan Jang was, he'd think they were pulling his leg. After the initial shock, an immense wave of joy washed over him. With Ethan Jang's backing, the university was destined to make a huge splash at the Innovate U competition. This was fantastic news for the school. Knowing this wasn't his place to speak, he stood by and listened quietly. But the longer he listened, the more something fell off. Why don't you call your high school friends who are around here, and we can all have dinner tonight? Ethan suggested. Leo immediately refused. Aren't you busy? You should head back. I'm busy, Ethan said, but I can always find time for dinner. Then you should call Chloe. I have something to do, so I can't make it. Leo would have to be out of his mind to go. Ethan had wanted to visit the campus for a reason, and Leo knew exactly what it was. He dodged it last time, and he planned to dodge it again. His high school friends was a thinly veiled reference to Sophia. Of all their high school classmates, only 3 of them were in the area. Without waiting for a reply, Leo stood up. Uncle Ethan, I know you're busy, so I won't keep you. See you next time. He walked over, handed Ethan the DV camcorder, and headed for the door without looking back. Just as he opened it, he ran right into Chloe. Leo, you're here too, she exclaimed, her face lighting up with a happy surprise. Leo nodded. Yeah, go on in. Your dad's waiting for you. Oh, and he said he wants to have dinner with you tonight. He even said something about inviting your high school friends. I have plans, so I can't go. You should spend some time with him. Chloe froze, a realization dawning on her. She bit her lip, looking at Leo with a complicated expression. Leo reflexively reached out and gave her a light, playful tap on the nose. Go on, I really have to go. With that, he turned and left. After leaving the campus, Leo headed straight for the University of Oregon next door. He knew Ethan was too proud to go find Sophia and say something out of line, but he felt it was better to be safe than sorry. Sophia was in class, with Quinn Ho sitting beside her. It was Quinn who spotted Leo outside the classroom first. She nudged Sophia, who was engrossed in the lecture. When Sophia looked over, Quinn jutted her chin toward the door. Look, he's here for you. Sophia saw Leo, then glanced at the clock on the wall. Still 20 minutes left. She wasn't going to wait. While the professor was writing on the board, she slipped out the back door. What are you doing here at this time? Sophia asked. Leo usually gave her a heads up before he came over. This was unusual. She had a feeling something was up. Leo took her hand and led her away from the building. Since she'd already skipped, might as well make it a real escape. I feel like going shopping. Come with me to the city, he said. I have 2 movie tickets. We can see a movie after. Sophia didn't object. Okay. She pulled out her phone and sent a quick text to Quinn, asking her to bring her textbooks back to the dorm. She didn't ask Leo why he suddenly wanted to take her to a movie. Sometimes it was better not to know. They caught a cab at the campus entrance and headed to a mall downtown. Just as they got out, Leo's phone rang. It was Vice President Jang. Leo, what exactly is your relationship with Mr. Jiang? He was clearly angry after you left. Leo was unconcerned. Oh, Zhang was even more puzzled. He had assumed Leo's attitude toward Ethan would be one of fawning deference, but his casual dismissal was intriguing. While Zhang was trying to figure out, Leo asked, is he gone? He left. Chloe is driving him. Zhang paused, then added in a hushed tone, I'll walk them out. From a distance, it looked like Chloe was arguing with him. After hanging up with Zhang, Leo fell into thought. Chloe had always been the perfect, obedient daughter in front of her father. He couldn't imagine how much courage it must have taken for her to argue with him. But he knew this wasn't the time to worry about that. He shoved his phone in his pocket, pretending nothing had happened. What do you want to eat? He asked Sophia, turning to her. Sophia pursed her lips. The speaker on those old Nokia phones was loud, and Leo hadn't tried to hide the call. She had heard every word. But since Leo wasn't bringing it up, she didn't feel it was her place to ask. After a moment, she said, eating with just two people is kind of boring. Why don't we ask Chloe to join us? Leo paused, unsure if she was being serious. The three of them had maintained a delicate, unspoken balance. For now, it worked. Sophia didn't wait for his answer. She dialed Chloe's number. It rang twice before Chloe picked up. Sophia? What's up? Her voice was on speaker, and it was clear her mood was low. There's a new Sichuan hot pot place that just opened downtown, Sophia said brightly. The reviews are amazing. Want to go try it with us tonight? She quickly added, I was about to ask Leo to come too. Chloe went silent on the other end. Her breathing seemed to get heavier. After a moment, she replied, Okay, send me the location. Sophia, of course, had no idea if there was a new place. She glanced around, spotted a hot pot restaurant nearby, and smiled. She typed the address into a text and sent it. Leo watched the whole performance without a word. Seconds after Sophia sent the text, his own phone rang. It was Chloe. Sophia told you, right? We're getting dinner tonight. Where are you? I can come pick you up. Sophia watched him, a cryptic smile on her face, curious to see how he would answer. Leo sidestepped the question. What about your dad? Wasn't he going to have dinner with you? He left, Chloe said. He's so busy, he never has time for dinner with me. He didn't even tell me he was coming until he was already at the school. Her voice was laced with hurt. Leo sighed inwardly, swallowing the words he was about to say. I'm over at the Rush Sportswear office, he lied. You go ahead. I'll just grab a cab over later. Okay, Chloe said, and hung up. You were about to tell her you were with me, weren't you? Sophia asked suddenly. She had been watching him intently, and she'd seen a shift in his expression. Leo nodded, admitting it freely. I was. Then I thought about it and decided it wasn't a good idea. The words were barely out of his mouth when Sophia stepped toward him. In a move that caught him completely by surprise, she stood on her tiptoes. A sharp, stinging pain shot through his ear. When the pain subsided, he heard her muttering, Liar, liar, liar. The mall entrance was crowded. Seeing a commotion, people started to gather. Even Sophia, for all her composure, felt her cheeks flush. She quickly lowered her head, avoiding everyone's gaze. Leo remained as calm as ever. This was nothing. He gently lifted her chin. All right, explain. What did I lie to you about? Sophia let him lift her head. So what are you trying to lie about? He whispered, leaning close. Tell me, and I'll consider it. He buried his face in her hair, murmuring something softly in her ear. Sophia felt her body go limp, and she leaned against him. In a voice so quiet it was barely a whisper, she said, Liar, you have to remember. You have to be good to me. The words were so faint Leo didn't catch them. I have to remember what? A mischievous glint appeared in Sophia's eyes. What? You admit you're a liar? Leo froze for a second, then realization dawned. He wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Oh yeah? You tell me. What's a lie? Sophia's eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. The way you are right now. That's a lie. She slipped from his grasp and, with a cheerful bounce in her step, walked into the mall. After a few paces, she turned back, her hands behind her back. Come on. Leo hurried to catch up. Sophia took his arm naturally. Winter's almost here. You should buy me a new coat, she said. As compensation. The last word was a whisper, but this time Leo heard it. He didn't argue. He already owed her so much. Just one, he asked instead. You know, you could ask for more. Sophia blinked. In that case, maybe two. Leo sighed. Whatever makes you happy. Sophia laughed and pulled him toward the clothing stores. She bypassed the women's sections, focusing instead on winter coats in matching men's and women's styles. She kept holding up men's coats to Leo's chest. Try this one on, she said, handing him a stylish outfit she'd picked out. Leo figured he was a natural clothes horse. He looked good in anything. He took the clothes and went into the fitting room. When he came out, Sophia's eyes lit up. She turned to the sales associate. We'll take this set. I don't need to try on the women's version. If he looks this good, I can't possibly look worse than him, right? The associate giggled, covering her mouth. Of course. They spent an hour in the mall. By the time they left, Leo's hands were full with two large shopping bags. Sophia had picked everything out. Two matching couples' outfits and some other warm winter jackets in both men's and women's sizes. Leo paid for it all. Liar, Chloe should be here soon, Sophia reminded him, giving him a playful glare. Leo didn't care anymore. So what if she is? Sophia pouted. Fine. You wait for her here. I'm going to go to the restaurant and check out the menu. And just like that, she started walking away. After a few steps, she turned back, ran back, and snatched the 2 shopping bags from his hands. I'll take these back to my dorm to wash them before I give yours to you. Leo knew that washing the clothes was just an excuse. She just didn't want Chloe to see him holding shopping bags. It would instantly expose his lie. He watched Sophia's back disappear into the restaurant before looking away. Bored, he walked back into the mall and found a coffee shop to sit in. Leo. He was staring blankly at the street below when he heard someone call his name. He looked up. The girl looked familiar, but he couldn't place her. After a moment, it clicked. Oh, the girl from the train with the cool, 6-digit AIM screen name. He smiled and waved her over. What a coincidence. You work here. Wendy was wearing the coffee shop's uniform, so it was easy to tell. She smiled back. Yeah, we don't have many classes right now, so I figured I'd get a part-time job. Internships are coming up soon, so I wanted to get used to the work environment. She was just as surprised to see him. After his dad had driven them all home that day, they hadn't spoken since. He never accepted her AIM request. When he glanced around, is your girlfriend not with you? She remembered the girl who was with him on the train and was curious why she wasn't here now. Girlfriend? Leo repeated, feigning confusion. Then he teased. Which one? When he burst out laughing. You have more than one? Leo nodded seriously. Is that against the law? Since he had time to kill, Leo chatted with her. 2 people from the same small-town area could talk for ages without even trying. After a while, someone from the counter called for Wendy. She gave him an apologetic smile. I won't bother you anymore. I have to get back to work. Leo nodded. He had to go too. Through the window, he could see Chloe's Land Rover pulling up. Can I add you this time? When he asked tentatively before she left, there was a computer at the coffee shop's counter. By the time Leo left, he had a new friend request on AM from the screen name SnowAngel04. The food in the Seattle area tended to be mild. It was rare to find an authentic Sichuan hot pot place. As evening approached, the restaurant was already packed. When Leo went inside, it took him a minute to find Sophia and Chloe. The 2 of them were laughing and talking, looking perfectly harmonious. Of course, that was before he arrived. As soon as he sat down, the smiles vanished. We already ordered some stuff. Do you want to add anything else? Sophia handed him the menu. Leo glanced at it. They had already ordered the few dishes he actually liked. Whatever you guys want is fine. Don't worry about me. Oh, good. I was just being polite anyway, Sophia retorted. Chloe couldn't hold it in and let out a snort of laughter. Is it that funny? Leo rolled his eyes. Chloe stuck her tongue out playfully and turned away. It wasn't me. While they waited for the food, Sophia and Chloe talked about their classes, complaining how they thought college would be easy, but it was actually more tiring than high school. Professors didn't push you, so you had to be completely self-motivated. If you slacked off for a second, your grades would plummet. In Leo's view, it was just an academic arms race. He was an outsider, sitting across from them, content to play on his phone. He was just there to fill a seat. He stayed that way until Chloe kicked him under the table. He looked up. What? Chloe pouted. I'm asking you. There's a high school reunion over winter break. Are you going? Honestly, Leo wasn't interested. We'll see, he said vaguely. Chloe had expected that answer. Also, she continued, Sophia is competing in her school's campus singer showcase next week. We should go cheer for her. Sophia had mentioned it offhandedly while they were chatting. Chloe had remembered. Putting Leo aside, the 2 of them were good friends. With Leo in the picture, things got awkward. But thankfully, no one was crossing any lines, and the unspoken tension was manageable. Yeah, that's no problem, Leo replied instantly. Even if Chloe hadn't asked, he would have gone. A pang of jealousy hit Chloe, but she could only swallow her disappointment. After some more meaningless small talk, the food arrived. Staring at the bubbling pot filled with a terrifying amount of dried chili peppers, Leo couldn't bring himself to eat. He didn't mind spicy food, but this was a whole other level of pain. Sophia and Chloe, however, seemed to be enjoying it. Hey, isn't that beautiful senior, Yvonne Yuan from Sichuan? Leo asked suddenly, halfway through the meal. He remembered her because one of his roommates, Shane, was obsessed with her, practically willing to call Leo dad in exchange for Mandy Moore concert tickets. Leo wasn't into that, otherwise he might have gained a son. Chloe's eyes narrowed suspiciously. What are you up to? She asked, her tone acidic. Sophia also looked up at him before quickly focusing back on her food. Leo wiped his mouth with a napkin. He picked up a small bottle of vinegar from the condiment tray and waved it at Chloe. Want me to pour you some of this? The spicy food had already made her face flush, but now it turned a deeper shade of red. To Leo's surprise, she nodded seriously. Yes. That threw Leo for a loop. He put the vinegar down. Shane Xia wants to take her to the concert. I just remembered, so I asked. The old Leo would never have bothered to explain. But slowly, he was changing, adapting to this new life. He was young. He should act like it. Chloe visibly relaxed. Remembering the way Shane looked at Yvonne, she believed him. Yeah, I think she's a huge Mandymore fan. By the way, are you guys going? She asked, turning to Sophia. Sophia had just taken a big bite and seemed to burn her mouth. She fanned her face while mumbling, Yeah, we are. Then let's all go together. Chloe suggested. Leo frowned. 3 people. That complicated things. The concert would end close to 11. 2 people was easy to manage. But 3? That meant everyone just went back to their own dorms. Thinking fast, just before Sophia could agree, Leo accidentally knocked his bowl off the table. The sound of porcelain shattering on the floor was sharp and loud, momentarily silencing the bustling restaurant. Oops. Good luck, Leo muttered as he started to clean up. Sophia shot him a dirty look. Just then, Chloe gasped. Sophia, quick, pick up your bags. The floor is covered in oil. The Sichuan hot pot base was heavy with oil, and Leo's bowl had been full of it. When it spilled, it went everywhere. Sophia cried out, quickly lifting the shopping bags. Thankfully, they were clean. It was only then that Chloe noticed the bags were full of clothes. Sophia, did you just buy all this? I was thinking of getting some winter clothes, too. Can I see?